Howdy do Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're back for episode 207.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom.
Etc. I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you've had a cracking couple of weeks. Because we were absent last week.
I know. I just thought as you introduced the episode, when you were like, this is episode 207, I was thinking like, what is it? I haven't got a clue what episode we're on.
We don't know, do we?
No, I've lost track. It is 207. I've written it on my pad.
Indeed, yeah.
You're quite correct.
Yes. Absent last week, my fault completely. I was on my early Christmas break. Normally we go away for Crimbo. But we're doing something else this year at Christmas, so we thought we'd go away a bit early. So I was over in Canada. Over in Toronto. Yep, it was lovely and fresh and cold there, nice and cool. It's all good. I'll tell you what, mate, I'm not impressed with the amount of merch that I couldn't find over there.
No, I was hoping you'd find me one of those Funko Pops, the 13 pop. We're both so desperate to get our grubby little hands on, but no, you did get one thing though that was cool. I saw. Yeah, I picked up the 13th Doctor Sonic, the 720. Yeah. Is it 720? Which is good because it's costing quite a bit of money still to get that imported over here. I think if you want to get it shipped over to the UK, it's about 30 quid. So you got it for presumably the actual retail price, which is good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. My goal though was to pick up that TARDIS Funko Pop. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the one. That's the holy grail of merch at the minute. At the minute, yeah. So I thought, well, I'm going to be in North America. It shouldn't be too difficult. I'll have a good hunt around, and I'll tell you what, mate. Not only that, but just the merch in general was, it wasn't doing the business, mate. Oh man, that's bad. You know, sometimes when you and I have gone into Forbidden Planet, and we've just looked at the Doctor Who display and thought, do you remember the last time we were in there together and that cabinet of all the figures that had fallen over and were covered in cobwebs and just like no one had been near that cabinet for years, had they? It was all like the series 7 merch on it. I think there's like a little Dorian figure. Oh dear, it was depressing, wasn't it? A cat T-shirt, a Doctor Who cat T-shirt. It was dreadful, wasn't it? The last time we went into FP. It was dreadful. So was it a bit like that, was it? A little bit bland? It was, mate, yeah. There's a couple of comic book shops that I go into whenever we go to Toronto, and one of them's called the Silver Snail, which is a really cool comic book shop. It's really cool. It's like I like the name. It's like Forbidden Planet, but it's got a coffee shop in it as well. Oh, great. So it's really imagine nice. If FP had a coffee shop. Right? Oh, they are missing a trick there. Yeah. Oh, we'd literally live in there, wouldn't we? Be like, guys, we're like, we shut 10 minutes ago. Just finishing up this cuppa, mate, that we've made last all day. I tell you what, it's perfect for your other half that's not quite as appreciative of geek stuff as well. Oh, yes, I hear you. Yeah, so Nat can sit down and have a drink, and she's like, right, I'll see you in a little while. Just go and have a look. Anyways, they just seem that the merchandise section just seems to be dwindling, not just for Doctor Who, but because they used to have a really big Star Wars bit as well, and a huge DC Comics bit as well. Loads of figures, collectibles, all sorts. Anyways, there wasn't one single item of Doctor Who merch in the whole place. Oh gosh.
And that's not an over-exaggeration.
That's
You might think, oh, come on, Gary, there must be, a Funko Pop knocking about. Literally zero. Nothing. Went into another. Have you heard of, on the podcast, we've sometimes mentioned a place called Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Went in there. The only bit of merch they had in there was the sonic screwdriver, which I picked up, and a couple of T-shirts. That was it.
Blimey, because we thought when the new series started, we were like, we're going to get back to the glory days, all the merch, and it's not quite happened. I mean, FP was slightly better when I was in there recently, because obviously you got the Jodie doll and you've got Sonics and stuff, so it was sort of looking a bit more, as a couple of Titans as well, so it's looking a bit more fleshed out, that shelf. I have to say the cabinet's still full of dust, but but it looked a bit more promising, and I thought, the annual will be out soon, calendars, it will start to fill up. But yeah, it's still looking a bit bleak on the merch side, isn't it? Of things in general, really.
It is a little bit. Yes.
I bet you're good. Did you? Because you didn't pick up the UK Sonic, did you?
No, it was the North American version.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you'd got both. So you've got, because I was going to say, watching Rosa, you must be quite pleased, because when I've got both, got the UK and the American, and I was saying, like, the American one, obviously the end spins. And the UK one doesn't.
Yes. Yeah.
We were sort of saying in my review of it, I was like, but we don't know if it does spin in the show yet. So maybe characters is, maybe the UK one is accurate. But no, in Rosa, the episode, she pressed the button and it finally spanned, didn't it?
It did the thing.
So the actual, so the 721 is actually the better one, in a way. Yeah, although it's got that grainy effect, which isn't right. It's weird, isn't it? If you could combine the best bits of both the UK and that Sonic,
absolutely,
you'd have a perfect Sonic. But I love the fact that the 721 actually does that little twirly thing with the end core. Just, I don't know, it's something about it.
It's pretty cool.
It's better, isn't it? Yeah.
Other than that, mate, there wasn't much going on. Obviously, I watched while I was there. The Space Channel was very cool.
Is it? Oh, I thought it was Watch, but it is called the Space Channel.
It's just Space. Yeah, it's a very cool channel. Yeah, they're having a Star Trek marathon as well.
Oh,
and I'm not a Trekkie.
No, you're not.
I've mentioned this before. I'm, don't really do the Trek too often. I think the only bit of Trek I've got into was, I think it was it earlier this year when Netflix put out that new Discovery. It was called, So I thought that was cool, but I don't really do Trek. But I just found myself sitting there, snacks, drinks, everyone else was doing their thing.
Was it which series was it? Classic or?
It was the classic Star Trek films.
Oh, the films.
Yeah, so they were doing the little film.
Oh, was it? Did they have Rafa Khan?
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I like the Rafa Khan.
You
see the bit where they put the see the bit where they put the little maggot in his ear? That freaks me out. Yeah. That does. That little scene. But what time do they show Doctor Who over there? The new, when you're watching, because I was thinking, I was pretty sure you'd get to see it while you were there rather than having to wait till you come back. So I was thinking, but when will he see it? Is it on in the evening or? Yeah,
so it's on in the evening, and when we're there, we're 5 hours behind the UK. So it goes out, I think, at around 7:45 in the evening on Space. Something like that. It's like 7:30 or 7:45. So in UK time, that's like midnight here.
Okay.
Or whatever it is. So I think they do live. I think there is some way of streaming it over there.
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
Yeah, because they do it as like a simulcast, don't they? So UK, North America, and somewhere else, Australia, I think, something like that. They do like a simulcast thing where it goes out all at the same time. So there might be another channel or a streaming service where you can watch it, early in the day. But yeah, I just caught it when it was on, like, in the evening time.
Did you watch? Because I can't remember when you come back. Did you watch both episodes out there, Rosa and
No. So
Arachnids, just Rosa.
Yeah, so I came back on the Friday, sort of late morning, and then Arachnids was on the Sunday.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
So that's what I've been up to, mate. Just merch hunting and failing spectacularly, other than the Sonic.
But you got your Sonic, which is cool.
You didn't
have
much,
to pay
buddy?
£30 for it, which is also cool.
Oh God, no. You been up to much, dude?
Surprisingly not, actually, considering it's been 2 weeks. No, I haven't been up to a great deal. In fact, I really don't know where those 2 weeks are gone. This last 2 weeks, I can't even think of anything I've done, not even Doctor Who related, just in general in my life. I just don't seem to have done anything the last couple of weeks. I'm sure I have done some things, but the only thing that does spring to mind is that the other day, doing the ironing, exciting times, I listened to a new Big Finish actually, and it was one because normally I've got so many backlogged to listen to that I normally when I'm doing the ironing think, right, which one of these billions of Big Finish releases that I've bought should I actually listen to now? And but actually this time I bought one specifically to listen to while the ironing because I was chatting to Ben Lett, our little friend Ben Lett from the Host Productions, and he was saying about this trilogy and blah blah blah. And there'd been this release 2 months ago with Colin Baker called The Hour of the Cybermen. And I think we might have mentioned it on the podcast, but it brought David Banks back as the cyber leader. And I believe it's the first time he's done Big Finish, David Banks, as the cyber leader.
Oh, okay.
And also, so I wanted it because of that, but also there's this sort of very loose trilogy with another character. And that's the second part in the trilogy. Which I also really wanted. So that was it. I decided, right, that's what I'm going to get. And I'll tell you what, mate, like, I think there's a good quality to Big Finish. I think they've got a standard good, they're all fairly good releases. Uh-huh. You don't often get a real clanger from them. They're normally, even if one's better than the other, there's normally something about a Big Finish release that makes it good. And then you get the odd really standout release, I think. You know what I mean? There's one that you just think, well, now, hang on, that really was good. This is one of them. This is a release that I would say is up there with sort of, maybe not quite to Spare Parts level, but it is up there with it. Because I'll tell you, when I finished it, I was like, that was brilliant.
Oh, okay.
And it's not, because sometimes you sort of switch off a little bit or, this is good, but I don't, I'm not really listening to it. I was engrossed in this, mate. I tell you, like, shirts were getting burnt and while doing the ironing and stuff. No, they weren't. But I know, I'll tell you what, it's one, I just highly recommend it. It was great, obviously, having David Banks back to the cyber leader because he's got that sort of slightly over the top, isn't he? He's like, kill them at once and all this sort of thing. But the story was really good as well. And very much of the Colin Baker era, just they've done this sort of sound design with it when the music sounds, remember how his music's a bit intrusive, but they've managed to capture that without making it annoying. And it could easily have been a television soundtrack. From then, back in 1980, whatever. It was so well done. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I'll tell you, as much as I don't like Colin Baker's TV stories very much, nothing to do with Colin, just I'm not a fan of the stories much. He's so good on Big Finish. I know we've said it before. And he was just really, really good in this as well, especially playing off against David Banks' cyber leader. And they also got... Remember when we reviewed Earthshock and you were saying about the guy who played the sort of Lieutenant Cyber Man that was next to, you were saying like, well, normally they're just Cybermen, but those two seem to have a bit of rapport and had a bit more to him. He's back as well, a guy called Mark Hardy. He's back as the Cyber Lieutenant. So you got Banks and him as well.
Oh, cool.
So it just made it a little bit special, if you know what I mean. So yeah, if anyone's into your Big Finish and you sort of were thinking about getting that release, I do highly recommend it. It's one of those releases that just really sticks in my mind as well. That was that was a notch up. That was really, really good, really strong.
What's the title of it?
Hour of the Cybermen. Came out about 2 months ago, I think.
240 from the main range.
240 from the main range. Yeah, really, really good. And so I listened to that. Apart from that, I haven't really been doing much else. We're recording this on Halloween on the Wednesday, and I've been trying to think. Always like to pick out a few little things to watch.
Oh yeah.
On Halloween, and I've decided that tonight whether my partner wants it or not, are going to be watching Ghostlight. Because I just thought that's quite spooky, and I've never watched it on Halloween, so I've dug out Ghostlight to watch later.
Light.
So I'm quite looking forward to that because I think the last time I watched it was when we reviewed it, which is quite a while ago now, isn't it?
Oh, it's ages ago. Yeah,
it's ages ago. Yeah, and I haven't watched it for a while, and I'm just looking forward to seeing the confusion on my partner's face throughout the whole thing. We're going to get to the end, and it's going to be like if we make it to the end, it'll be like, what the hell, But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, mate. So that's my Halloween viewing sorted.
Yeah, that was back in episode 120.
Blimey.
Yeah, which was the 9th of December, 2016.
Gosh, really?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was last year. Yeah, incredible. So yeah, I don't suppose, have you dug anything out? Are you into Halloween?
Oh, I love Halloween, mate. Absolutely love it, yeah. So in terms of Doctor, I was going to ask you this before we kicked off with our review. What would you say is or what do you think is the creepiest or scariest Doctor Who story?
Oh, creepiest or scariest?
Yeah, one that still gives you the willies.
Actually, do you know, Midnight springs to mind. That scene where she's got her back to the camera in the carriage,
yes.
You know, the 10th Doctor one. It's so strange because I know I've said this before, but it's a story that I really, really didn't like on the first time I watched it. And I absolutely love Midnight now. And that strikes as being a really creepy one.
It is creepy, for sure.
But I don't know if it's the scariest, though. What would you say? You tell me while I have a little think.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a couple of creepy ones, and I think they were designed to be creepy. So do you remember the Capaldi story, Hyde? Where you had the little, whatever it was.
That was 11th Doctor, wasn't it? Hyde. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry, yeah. So the Capaldi one was called Listen, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the little thing under the bed sheet.
Yes.
That was really creepy, that bit.
And
they
watched that for a while.
But yeah, the 11th Doctor one, Hyde, was really good. Like in the big old haunted house with
that thing with a funny long neck chasing him through the forest, wasn't he?
Yeah. So like the first half of that episode was very good. It was very, typical old lightning outside and big haunted house and walk around with candles, a bit ghost story-ish. But I think in terms of classic Who, I think Morbius is pretty creepy.
That'd be actually, God, I wish I thought of that. That would have been a great one to watch tonight, because actually that one's a bit more watchable for my other half. I'm thinking that's probably a bit more accessible as a story, isn't it, than Ghostlight?
Yeah.
That would be a great one for Halloween, actually. I'm not going to swap it up because I've made my decision.
You've made it, yeah.
I've made that, but maybe next Halloween I'll try to remember. That is a good shout. I was going to say as well, I always think that The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances has actually got some really great creepy moments in it. Like the bit where... Oh, poor old Victor Meldrew. I've forgotten the character, the Doctor. Dr. Constantine, isn't it? Constantine. Yeah. When he was like morphing into the gas mask face, that was really, even back then, I was like, wow, they're really pushing the boundaries sort of thing. So that's got some great creepy moments, isn't it? Mummy and all that.
Yeah.
I still think that's quite a good creepy story. I'm sure there's loads about our listeners are like shouting out at us now saying, what about so-and-so? Because Doctor Who, when it does scary, I think most of the time gets it pretty bang on, actually.
Yeah, there's been a couple of episodes with the Weeping Angels that are a bit creepy.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think Blink is a really good episode, but I never get why people say it's that scary. No. I think there's only, like the jump moments I always think are quite predictable in it in a way. Like, when she turns around and the angel's right there. I get it. I mean, it is a great episode, and I get why people say that, but I never think it's as scary as it could be. I always feel like they were just slightly holding back with Blink a little bit. I think it could have been terrifying.
There was another story with Weeping Angels. I think it was with Rory and Amy. I think it was The Angels Take Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
There's a creepy bit with Rory down in the basement, and he's got...
Oh, yeah, with the cherubs.
The little cherubs legging around, and you can just hear them giggling and stuff. Oh, there's another cool one that's creepy. What's the Matt Smith episode with the big porcelain dolls?
Oh, Night
Terrors. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
I think that's one of the most disappointing, because I remember seeing the promotional stills from that, thinking this, and it's Mark Gatiss as well, and I remember thinking like, this is going to be so creepy, and I didn't find it creepy at all. But I think they looked fantastic. Like, I think there was so much potential in that story to be terrifying. But I don't know I can't remember when we reviewed it, but. I think the sort of direction or something of that story just let it down, because I don't remember finding it scary at all.
It wasn't.
But it had
scary,
the premise, and they looked scary. Yeah. They looked brilliant, didn't they? Those big doll things, yeah.
I think they just held back on the horror aspect a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess Doctor Who, you do have to keep it semi sort of child friendly, I guess. But Doctor Who's really good when it is scary, though.
Yeah.
I love scary.
It's funny you mentioned Listen, actually, because I haven't watched that for a very long time. I kind of feel like watching it now, because the thing is, that's the one with all the Orson Pink nonsense, isn't it? Because I remember thinking from memory, and as I said, I haven't watched it for ages, I remember thinking it started off really good, and there was all that creepy stuff in the house and the thing at the window, and then it kind of they land on a spaceship and there's the knock at the door, and I remember thinking this is all good, but then you had the whole awesome pink thing in the restaurant. I remember it just sort of fell apart a bit, that episode. If I'm, from memory, I haven't watched it for ages, but I remember there was some really good stuff in that, like the knocking at the door and that, and you never find out what it was, do you? There's no conclusion or anything, is there? No. What about Sleep No More, mate? Is that terrifying, but for all the wrong reasons?
Sleep No More.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we gave that a very low score.
Oh, I think we did, yeah. I've always wanted to go back, because that's one of the few episodes on the DVD set that has a commentary track. And I've always wanted to go back and listen to it, actually, to see what they say about it. I can't remember who's doing the commentary. I assume it's Mark Gatiss and possibly Stephen Moffat. I'm not sure.
Who was? When was that out then? Sleep No More.
Series 9, isn't it?
Series 9. I can't even remember, mate. I remember it being bloody awful.
I remember you were absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I went pretty mad on it. I think I gave it a 2 out of 10 or something like that.
Yeah, you weren't impressed.
Yeah, Sleep No More, crikey.
Mm.
Oh dear. Anyways, let's get on with our reviews. We're going to skip news and merch this week because we need to get these reviews out the way.
We do, and I wonder if we'll be saying that Arachnids in the UK. Let's see how that fares.
Indeedy.
Because that's, looked quite creepy from the trailer. Did that live up to it, I wonder?
Yeah.
Because I hate spiders as well. I'm terrified of them. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. Before that...
What have we got?
Well, before that, it is the episode Rosa.
Operation Rosa Parks. We have to make sure we keep history in order.
Can I help you?
Are we actually leaving? Not in a million years.
That's all you get with the next time trailers these days.
They're very short, aren't they? Yeah, very short. They give you nothing.
That's your lot.
Chibbers in the cutting room over the shoulder of the editor.
Yeah,
that's enough.
Yeah, I can just imagine the editor's got this awesome 1 minute trailer.
Yeah,
and turns around and Chibbers is just sort of shaking his head slowly,
reduces it to 8.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's like, we're giving too much away. Chop that down. How about 45 seconds? 30 seconds. And the editor's just like, "Oh, do it your bloody self," then just walks out.
They have been short, haven't they? I love that little bit of music as well. That ding ding in the background. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Right then, Rosa. Was first broadcast back on the 21st of October. It was directed by Mark Tondere. It was written by Mallory Blackman and Chris Chibnall.
Oh, he's there, is he?
Yeah. Yes, it stars the usual Series 11 TARDIS team, along with Vinette Robinson as Rosa Parks and Joshua Bowman as Krasko. Along with some other supporting cast members. Also, the story is thus. This one is a proper historical Doctor Who. We've had plenty of these in the past, and this falls in line with the very accurate, for the most part, historical. So it centers around the story of, obviously, as the title would suggest, Rosa Parks back in 1955, where the sort of civil rights movement picked up speed and they abolished blacks and whites sitting separately on buses and things like that. And so it's very, it centers around, that's like the center point, like that one moment in history, that little pocket of time there is what it's not like some of the other historicals where there's a lot going on and it's very fluffy in some places where, it's set roughly in the time period of something that happened, like with things like The Visitation, where at the very end, it's like,
they just popped to Pudding Lane.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the Fire of London. That's okay. This is this bit of history actually influences the entire story. It's all centered around that. And the Doctor and the companions, they are not doing their usual thing. So it's not about there's a baddie and he needs to be stopped. It's about not changing the course of history. So he does need to be stopped in a way, but not directly. They're trying to stop his actions influencing history rather than him directly. And there's the story. So it's quite a simple story. It's nothing crazy going on. What did you think to Rosa?
I absolutely loved it.
You did?
I really, really did. Yeah, I was slightly worried about this episode before it aired because it is such a important subject and it deals with racism and it's quite an adult subject, and I was worried how they were going to handle it. Like, would it be clunky? Would it be preachy? I just wondered where they were going to go with it. Right. And I was just, when it finished, I felt educated, I felt entertained, and I felt that it was just like the production values were incredible. And I just was really impressed how they actually told the story. Because like you said, it's quite the storyline in itself is quite simple. Just this evil Krasko is just trying to change history by stopping Rosa sitting on the seat, and altering the sort of course of history. So it's quite a simple storyline, but it told a fantastic story. And I love the fact that, because with historicals, they tend to sometimes bend the truth a little to make it more dramatic, don't they?
Exactly.
I'm not just talking about Doctor Who, I just mean in general. So for example, I went to see the new Queen film the other day, about the band Queen and Freddie Mercury. Fantastic film. But when I come out of it, I was my mind was thinking, but hang on, didn't they release that album after that? And so little things like that bugged me, because it's you sort of take it on face value, and if you don't know, you accept things as fact. So I'm sort of thinking, so they're going to think that Freddie was doing that when Live Aid happened, which actually isn't true. And so little things like that bug me, and with this, from what I understand and what I've read, is they tried to keep it pretty much as accurate as they could.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that, I'm not saying Rosa Parks met a travel agent called Krasko. I know that there's a sci-fi element in there, but I'm saying the other parts of it, like, because it's kicked off, didn't it, with her, getting on the bus and being told to use the back door to get on. And so it kicked off very strong straight away, didn't it? I thought, wow, we're not pulling any punches here. We're straight into a very confrontational scene. And apparently that actually happened. And, just everything you're sort of seeing, it's pretty much true to what happened in terms of the Rosa Parks story, obviously not the sci-fi element. But I was mate, I was just blown away by the brilliant way it was done, because, as I said, it just it mixed in a very important story with some very entertaining moments, and it just the balance that they got was spot on. I thought I was so impressed and sort of almost relieved. I was like, it hammered home the point really well, but I don't feel it sort of was shoved down my throat. It didn't feel awkward or like they sort of had to, what do we sometimes say, shoehorn that into it. It just felt like they got it just right. So, yeah, I'm unbelievably impressed with this episode, mate. I'm sort of gushing over it, really. Watching it again yesterday, I was just as impressed with it. Can't get over the production values. I just can't get over how good it looked. And I mean, it almost felt like a mini movie. It just like the attention to detail, and it, I don't know where they filmed it, but it, it looked like where it's supposed to be.
Yes, it does.
So I just was amazingly impressed, mate. I loved it. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I was equally as impressed and just loving the whole story, really. When I first saw the title for this episode, I was like, they've got to be very careful with stories like this, because it does deal with obviously a big important subject matter. And Rosa Parks she's just such an influence. You know what I mean? She's such an important figure within this subject matter. It's got to be handled respectfully and not done in a way that's, like you said earlier, it can't be. It would have been a disservice to the story and to Rosa Parks if they'd have just broken down history and had it more, so I think the way that the way it was written and the way it was produced was just beautiful. It was a really nice way of handling that moment in history without making it feel like, oh, they've just tore it apart and made it into some sci-fi show and they've just used Rosa Parks as a plot device to do something else. I love the fact that it was centered on her and that story, and the Doctor was, it was cool that it wasn't centered around here's the baddie of the week, and Rosa Parks is just in it. It just happens to be around that time period. I like the fact that she was the center of it and stuff. So really, really cool. And it's another part of me that was worried a little bit was the fact that Chibnall was on writing duty again. Mm-hmm. And I thought, because we're
let someone else have the pen, Chibbers. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and one sort of tiny fear that I've got is that we're going down Stephen Moffat road a little bit. I feel. Fortunately, not so much with this story, because I think that Mallory Blackman did an awesome job. I think Chibnall was on as co-writer. I don't think he was driving the script so much. So I think. With the Moth, where he wrote for the RTD era, when he wasn't showrunner, they were very good stories for the most part. And RTD was amazing at doing the character stuff. I feel like I don't want Chibnall to be like the Moth in that respect,
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, mate. Yeah, I must admit, because I said to you before we start recording, I didn't realise he was going to be writing so many episodes. And, it's nice to... So, and also the Doctor's always written a bit different when it's someone else as well and stuff like that. So, I was a little bit concerned when I saw he was there again. It's like, just let someone else have a go, Chibbers. But I'll tell you what I was most surprised about was how, for an episode of Doctor Who, obviously they're going to bring the race storyline into it because that's what it's about. I was amazed how far they sort of pushed the boundary in a good way. They didn't shy away from it at all. I mean, I never thought I would hear certain words. I mean, there are words that I'm not even going to say on the podcast that were in this episode, which I never thought I would hear at Doctor Who ever. Yeah. And it was important that we did hear those names and, some of the language and racial language, that was used in this episode. I never thought we'd get that in Doctor Who. But again, they handled it so well. I was just shocked, really, even from that first scene of her being shouted at on the bus. It was so brilliantly acted and dramatic. And I was thinking, wow, they're not it's not just going to be a little throwaway line of, you're black, you're white, you have to, it wasn't handled with kid gloves. It was like, no, this is a racist, there is a lot of racism in this town, and this is what happened. And it was really just laying it, out bare for you to see in a way that was absolutely right, but amazed me that they did it, considering this is a sort of, for want of a better word, children's -- family television program. I was thinking, wow, they are not shying away from this. And it was all the better for it. And as I said, because of the way that they handled it, I was just so impressed. I just thought, wow, you've really you're really not putting on kid gloves for this. You're telling it how it is. Yes. And you're doing it in a really good way. And I kept thinking how brilliant that, kids are going to watch this and probably learn something new. And we'll be talking about it and saying, oh, did you know that Rosa Parks was kicked off a bus and she refused to get off? And I'm thinking, God, this is genuinely going to educate kids about something very important that happened and changed the course of history. That again just impressed me so much.
Yeah, I think sometimes Doctor Who is at its best when it's not holding back and is having those.
It really didn't, did it?
No, those brave moments where, because I think something like this, it deserves to have a sense of realness about it and an educational type of. Because there is a scene where there's a scene between Ryan and Rosa.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I thought you were going to say a different scene. Yeah.
Sorry. But there's a scene between Ryan and Rosa, where he follows her for a bit and she sees him and then she invites him in to serve coffee and stuff. There's a bit after that when they're just leaning on the fence outside. And he says to her, it does get better.
Yeah.
He said it might not be perfect, but it gets better. And I think that's important from an educational point of view for especially younger people, to realize that it was pretty bloody bad for a long, long time. And,
And sorry to interrupt, I was going to say, and do you know what is ironic as well? Because you watch this and you sort of think, and it ends and it leaves it really stuck in my mind. I was thinking about it all week after it finished. Couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was thinking it was ironic because you get to the end of the episode and you think, well, at least that was terrible back then. At least we've moved on and, we've progressed and we might not be 100% there, but at least we've moved on. And then literally the very next day on the news, you hear about this guy who racially abused this poor black woman on a Ryanair flight.
Exactly.
And was calling her all these racial names and and you're thinking, blimmin' heck, the timing of this, it was just such a big reminder of actually, yeah, we may have moved on, but we've still got so far to go. So it's such an important episode, I think, in terms of just reminding us of this is 1955. We're now in 2018 and you've still got people who are doing this sort of thing. It's just it's just the irony and the timing of the episode. And I think just seeing the contrast between then and something that happened the very next day or whatever, or that was on the news the very next day, just really brought it home to me. I was thinking, blimey, such an important episode. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
And I like also that it touched on, it obviously has an impact for the companions in the story.
Yeah.
With Ryan and Yaz being of colour. But you've also got Graham, who was married to somebody of colour.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be, if Graham wasn't married to somebody of colour, then there could be an argument to say that, he doesn't get it, quote unquote, or, is not as affected by it. But there was just things like that. And like I said, the educational part of it and some of the scenes that you mentioned that were a bit sort of direct and not holding back, all sort of comes together to make a very cool educational, more than anything. Not just an entertaining and interesting story in a heartbreaking way, but it just had a gravity to it that you don't really find with some other Doctor Who. Because I think Doctor Who, for the most part, if you were to ask, 1 million Doctor Who fans, a lot of them would probably say, well, it's my escapism. Doctor Who is a way for me to just forget life for an hour.
Yeah.
And I just want to go on a journey through space and time with the Doctor. And I want to forget about the seriousness of life. And I just want to enjoy a good old sci-fi show. I think this one still has that to a small degree, but it's more about an important, it just carries a level of gravity to it that, a lot of other Doctor Who episodes don't necessarily have. So yeah, and I think the writing was a big part of that. I think if the script was not as good as it was, this may have fallen on its bum a little bit.
I was going to say, that's what impressed me, is that it still managed to be entertaining. Like, this could have so easily have turned really, because it was serious in places, but somehow it still had this light comedy, the bits with the Doctor and Graham in the room when the police guy comes in and he's like, oh, I'm Steve Jobs and I've invented this phone. It still had these really fun moments in. And what I loved about this story as well, which I think is what I really wanted to see, was our TARDIS team working together. Everybody in this did their own little bit. They were clever. They talked about how they were going to solve it, and it just was great to see the way that they were all written, sort of working together to solve this problem, and I thought, again, it just made the episode entertaining, rather than just being this really big, heavy subject that weighed the whole thing down, and you were sat there thinking, oh dear, this is depressing, isn't it? Oh, isn't it awful? It wasn't. It basically just told you, this happened. Gosh, that's really bad. These guys are in the middle of it, and there was funny moments, there were sad moments. There was obviously Carrasco. We got this guy in the middle of it, because that was the other thing I was worried about. It was like, is he sort of going to be the villain of the week? Is he going to ruin this? Is he going to be the sort of? He was a bit weak, but to be honest with you, I didn't mind, because it kind of, I think he was in it enough to not distract from the actual main heart of the story. So he was a bit of a weak villain, but it didn't bother me. I don't know about you. I found it. I quite enjoyed the scenes he was in, especially the little sort of standoffs between him and the Doctor. You know, when she's like throws his case at him and he zaps it, and she's like, see, you've just zapped your case back in time. Well done, and all that. So I loved the little scenes between the Doctor and Krasko. I thought they just added a bit of fun to a very sort of, serious, heavy subject. So yeah, a little bit weak maybe, but I didn't mind. It. I think it just just gave us a little bit of relief.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment, in the story.
Yeah, I think it was. I won't lie to you. I was disappointed in a little bit, way.
Okay, yeah.
Mainly because I think since Series 11 has kicked off, we haven't had a good, decent enough villain with a big enough threat yet. And we now? This is the 5th episode, is it?
Well, Rosa's episode 3, so yeah, 4. So this week's is 5, yeah.
Yeah. So. Wow, crikey! This Sunday we're going to be halfway through already.
Yeah,
wowzers! Right, so
I must admit I was going to mention this in the next review, but as you brought it up, I'll just quickly say it. This one of my big concerns actually is that we're almost halfway through the series and we haven't had one decent villain yet.
Exactly.
They've all been okay. I mean, Teeth Guy was pretty good, but they've all just been really unmemorable. And I think that's a bit of a shame, actually, because we are nearly halfway through the series. And as I said, I was going to mention this more in the next review because obviously we get, whatever his name is out of Sex and the Cities in the next one and all this and the spiders. And, yeah, it's a bit, the Chibnall promised us all these exciting new monsters and villains and stuff. And actually they've been really drab so far. Not bad, but just like you said, memorable, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that so far.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if, I agree with you in this particular story. Having not the strongest of villains is okay because the focus of the story was on something else, and obviously something more important. So that can be forgiven to an extent. But like I said, it wouldn't be so bad if Chibbers said, because he did make a statement, didn't he, before Series 11 kicked off, saying that this is going to be more about newer monsters and newer stuff, and not so much about, because we haven't heard a whiff, have we, of Daleks, Cybermen, anything, nothing at all. So it wouldn't be so bad if he followed that up with like an amazing villain that you thought, wow, this is like a new classic. This is going to be a villain that will sit alongside the hierarchy of like the Daleks and
there's no stuff. Weeping Angel, is there? There's nothing going to sit up there with them.
No.
And I could have excused it in this story. Like Krasko, I can excuse it because I think, there was a bigger story to tell. But it's just looking at it as an overall, 4 episodes in and no decent villain. And also the fact that they've all just walked away or, every single one of them has either disappeared or no, there's been no comeuppance or anything. So, it makes you think, well, is this all building up? Are they all going to return at the end in the final with some big show off? They all just literally it gets to the end and then they either walk out the room or they get zapped back in time or, none of them have sort of been caught or got their comeuppance. And it's bizarre, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too blown away with the villain, but kind of forgiving based on, what was going on with the rest of the story. Okay, so I think we're in agreement that story-wise and script-wise, it was really, really good.
I loved it. Yeah, simple, fun, entertaining. Yeah, just everything it needed to be.
Yes, and you mentioned that you've not seen Doctor Who look this good before.
I thought the production values were incredible on this week. Do you know on Rosa?
Do you know what wound me up though?
What?
The mothball.
Mothball?
The mothball. He was at a convention, wasn't he, at the weekend? Weekend just gone. Was it MCM?
Oh, when he said, I think I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
And he was saying that something like Doctor Who needs to make sure that it doesn't look cheap anymore because it's going to be in danger of... He was saying essentially that do you know what I mean? Some of the big shows like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and those sorts of things, he said they look like they look better than what you see in the cinema. And you can't have, Doctor Who's in danger of looking cheap next to those. I couldn't disagree more with him.
I think I was going to say, I know I read this article, and I have to say that I think he was he wasn't misquoted, but he's talking about I can't remember, because I read the full article, and actually, to be fair to the Moth, I think he was saying this before. I think he was slightly misquoted, or it was put out of place about what he was talking about. I don't think he was talking specifically about Series 11. But I don't know. I did read that little interview, and I was sort of thinking, come on, Stephen, have you seen some of the stuff?
Yeah.
But no, I think he was wasn't misquoted, but he wasn't talking about Series 11. I don't think. I can't remember. I did see it though, mate. Yeah.
So in his interview, he does say that the big challenge with Doctor Who now, he says now, is running the risk of looking as cheap as it did then compared to what the rest of TV is doing now, unless they put a lot more money into it.
He's obviously not been watching it then, because I'll tell you, the production values, especially on this episode, I think, could not have looked better. I couldn't fault it.
There is one thing that I do agree with what he said, though. He went on to say that it's still an inexpensive show. He says it's a show that generates as much money. He says a show that generates as much money as Doctor Who. They should be getting more of it back, frankly.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I completely agree with. If you think about how much money Doctor Who makes in terms of official merchandise and all sorts of stuff that, you and I have spent a fair whack on. And, thousands and thousands of other Who fans who have bought merch. I think it should get a bit more back into it. But either way, I think it looks brilliant. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some characters then. So supporting cast. There were two characters that were that played their roles very well, I thought. Well, one of them did anyway. The bus driver.
Yes.
The bus driver. James Blake, played by Trevor White. I thought he, like the opening scene that you mentioned, where he's actually shouting at Rosa and, he goes to call the police to have her arrested and stuff. Plays that sort of hard-nosed, I just thought he played that extremely well.
I did as well, mate. Yeah, I was very impressed because he was believable when he was shouting at her. I mean, it wasn't sort of EastEnders style of acting, of shouting, of pantomime,
Yeah.
It felt like he was properly like, get off this butt. It was top notch acting.
Yes.
And because with a subject like this, it's got to be believable. And he was, I truly believed he was into that part sort of thing. Yeah.
No, so I thought it was good. I think when you're an actor and you see that script and you think, right, I'm going to go for that part, I think there is a part of you that has to just let go a little bit. Because otherwise, like you said, you can fall into that soap opera-ish kind of style of acting where you're not really putting yourself into it 100% because you're holding back because it is just a soap, whatever. So I thought that he really threw himself into that, and those scenes where he's proper angry and shouting and stuff was very good. The other character, which I thought was okay, was the police guy, Officer Mason. He shows up at the motel room.
Yeah, I thought he was quite good.
I thought he was okay. Don't get wrong. I thought the character served a good purpose. I thought it was a good reinforcement of just, because up to that point, the only thing that we had seen really is that the bus driver and Rosa and some sort of dirty looks from people when they've gone into the restaurant and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought his character was a reinforcement of how crappy the racism was in the world at that time, but specifically in that part of the world. All the white people were like that. Because there were two instances of it. It was, and I'm not talking about James Blake, the bus driver, because that's directly linked with Rosa. So that's, well documented. But we had the scene quite early on where Ryan picks up handkerchief or a glove or something.
That's right.
Walking through the park, and the guy,
mate, slaps him.
Yeah, he goes nuts at him. And then we have the police officer as well. So you can tell that it's just awful. They were there to reinforce the fact that it doesn't matter where you go in Alabama or that part of the world, it's not good. But I just thought that his performance, I think it was his accent more than anything.
Right.
Gareth Marks, I'm not sure if he was American or British, but I don't know, he just sounded a bit off to me. But
okay, no, I understand what you mean. I must admit, I thought, because that's the thing, I was so impressed by the general standard of acting in this. I thought was so incredibly high, even from like the small parts, even from like, just the minor roles. And I think he played it, the guy who comes in the hotel room, he plays it a little bit more light-hearted than the bus driver. But I kind of think it needed that, because that scene is a fun scene as well, isn't it? So it's sort of, there's an element of tension, because is he going to find them harboring, Yaz and Ryan? Mm-hmm. But also there's the sort of comedy element where they're pretended to be a couple and it's so awkward and all that sort of stuff. So it was, I think in terms of the sort of that scene, I think he was all right. But I know what you mean. I mean, that was the other thing I was worried about this episode. I was like, I really hope we don't get a load of dodgy American accents in this, because that would be really distracting. Yeah. I think on the whole, they were pretty good, actually. Yeah. The
guy that played James Blake, his accent was okay, because he wasn't American, but he was Canadian. Okay. So he was halfway there. He just had to tweak his accent a little bit. But Gareth Marks, who played the police guy, he's just from London. I think that's why his accent just didn't really do it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. It did lead to that lovely scene with Yaz and Ryan by the Benzo, didn't it? Oh, I say lovely scene, but probably more important than lovely. Yeah. Where they're talking about still experiencing racism in this day and age and stuff. And that was a nice scene between the two of them. But again, quite uncomfortable to hear that some of the stuff they were discussing.
Yes. Yeah. What did you think to? So we also had a cameo from Martin Luther King as well.
Yeah, which was unexpected for me, but I guess it makes sense now. I was a bit surprised when they put him in there.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I shouldn't have been, but I was a bit like, oh, Martin Luther King's in this as well. But it was a great scene, because Ryan catches himself saying Martin Luther King and then, yes, Rosa Parks. And he's like, whoa, that's a lovely moment.
He's sort of overwhelmed, isn't he?
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. And I loved the bit when he said that his gran would be so proud to hear him. I thought, oh, that's just brilliant.
Bit sort of heartwarming as well.
It was great. Yeah, I loved that.
And I think that's one of the things in the story as well that echoed the bigger picture. So within those smaller scenes where you have those nice little moments, it kind of echoes the bigger picture that yes, it's I nearly had a beat moment then. Yes, it's a terrible time and it's a terrible thing going on, but there are these little pockets of hope and these little pockets of just fight, from people. And it's, so the Martin Luther King, it was unexpected. I didn't know at all before I watched it that he was going to be in it.
Yeah.
But it was nice though. It's a nice little cameo for that.
And it was just enough, wasn't it? It didn't need any. It was just he was there, and it's just all it needed, really.
Yes,
I thought it was just a nice moment. Yeah,
yeah. And Krasko then, the villain played by Joshua Bowman. I couldn't figure his accent out at first.
No, I know. I was thinking that.
I think what it was, he was doing that sort of Alabama deep South accent to sort of mix in with the yokels. But he's actually, I think when he wasn't around them and he was talking to the doctor, I'm pretty sure he was like a southeast London.
Yeah.
It did throw me.
It did me as well, because I was thinking, is he forgetting to do his accent, or is this on purpose? I couldn't work it out. So there was a bit, I'm kind of hoping we do get to see this guy again, actually, because
you think so?
There's obviously a bit more, well, I'm hoping we do, because there's obviously a bit more to him, isn't there? So the doctor mentions that he's got this inhibitor thing, which means he can't kill, which is interesting. So he tries to strangle her and he can't. So he can't actually physically harm anyone, which is interesting. She mentions this tattoo or something on his hand saying, you're from Storm Cage. So I'm like, okay, so what's Storm Cage then? So I'm hoping, again, hopefully we'll find a little bit more out about that. And he's got a vortex manipulator on as well, which was a nice little unexpected moment. I thought, I did do a little shriek when I was like, vortex, oh wow. So that was cool. But yeah, I think there's more to him. We didn't find out a lot about him. In terms of his performance, He's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. He wasn't very good, but I kind of liked him. Do you know what I mean? I just kind of found he was a bit cheesy. I don't know. I mean, don't like his, obviously, I don't like the villain. I just found him sort of an interesting. I just was interested to find out more about this cheesy idiot that was going around trying to change history. So I do hope we see more from him. And also, I noticed on his case, his box of goods that the Doctor throws in, it had some initials, didn't it? Which were GFB. And there may be no significance to that, but as soon as I saw it, I was thinking, who could he be? Do you know my first thoughts? This will be way off, but I thought it might just be a little in-joke for Gallifrey Base, the Doctor Who form. But I'm sure it's not. But I was sort of thinking, GFB, who could he be? So I'm intrigued by him. I hope we get to see a bit more. What did you think, mate? Did you think he was a bit of a wet lettuce?
I thought he was okay. We just didn't see a lot of him.
No.
But as we said earlier, that's not the end of the world. It's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter that's saying that he's going to be or he should be a recurring character, and we haven't seen the last of him. But I don't know. I get the feeling that he is just a throwaway.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do think so, yeah, because he's had all of his equipment busted up and he's got nothing else, and Ryan's sort of zapped him back to as way back as you can get in times, I think. So I can't see him coming back anytime soon.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought his performance was pretty good, actually. I thought it was, I'll tell you what really reinforced his performance and his scenes was the music when he was on screen. So once again, Segan just absolutely nailing the sort of suspenseful horror style sort of music. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Josh Bowman's pretty good. He starred in this thing, when was it on? A Time After Time. Which was a TV series that went out. I think it was fairly recent, last year, I think, or the year before. And he played Jack the Ripper.
Oh God! Right. Okay.
Yeah, and he was pretty good in it, actually. He was better in that than he was in this.
So he's got more to give in terms of acting, you think?
Definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. Maybe he was a little underused. I think maybe when I say I want to see him again, I think it's because I feel like there is more.
Yeah.
From him. There's a great shot actually when he's having the face off with Ryan. Sort of like all this smoke and the car lights going through it. It's very Stephen King. There's like on an angle, and the shot was, you were sort of looking through Ryan's legs, bizarrely. The shot was through his legs and seeing him in front of the car, and it was a great shot. I have to say, hats off to Mark Tandira. Is it the director?
Yep.
Tondira?
I think so.
I thought the direction was fantastic in this. I really thought it was so well directed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that shot in particular just reminded me of that. I just was like, yeah, it really looked great in terms of it. And the shot of the TARDIS, man, when Krasko was trying to shoot it, and we got this sort of shot looking down of the top of the TARDIS. Yeah. I mean, such a simple, but it just looked great. I mean, yeah, direction was on point.
It looked awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one thing that wasn't clearly explained about Krasko.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought they were going to, but he got zapped by Ryan and we never knew. I never fully understood his motive.
I must admit I was the same. Yeah.
And what I mean by that is he's obviously there to disrupt history because well, from the sound of it anyway, and please tell me if I'm wrong, our listeners might have a bit more of an idea, but it sounds like he was there for the sole purpose of changing that course of events so that I'm assuming the civil rights movement didn't pick up speed or wouldn't because of if Rosa didn't get on the bus in the first place, she wouldn't have been there to kickstart that civil rights movement.
Yeah, little nudges,
yeah,
wasn't it? Little nudges, the Doctor said.
But I never fully understood why. There was a scene where he was talking to the Doctor and she was trying to get to the bottom of it as well. And I can't remember exactly word for word what he said, but he did say something like, he said something like those people or something.
He's like, stop your people rising up or something.
Something
or
like
put you
that.
In your place or something like that.
So,
your lot in your place. Or, yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing that I can take away from it is that he's some interstellar alien racist.
Yeah.
That's I'm probably way off base. If any of our listeners have got any...
No, because I was the same. I mean, it was funny enough. It was at that point as well that I was asking exactly that question. Like, so he's having a go at Ryan, telling him, I'm going to stop your lot and all this. And I'm thinking, but what is his motivation? Is it just simply racism? Which at first I'm thinking, oh, that's a bit weak. But then I suppose in a way, is that the whole point of the episode? He's just there to represent racism.
Maybe.
Is it just as simple as that? He's just a racist, and that's what it's about. So, I did think the same. I was like, but why is he doing this? Well, like, what is his motivation? But I'm just thinking that is the whole point. Like, why is any racist? Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's just I'm asking myself, why is he doing it? Why is any racist doing it? That's what I'm taking away from it.
Yeah, it was.
But I don't know if that's what it's meant to represent. But
strange.
Yeah.
Just maybe it's one of those. It's left to the viewer's sort of interpretation as to what you think his motive was, maybe. I don't know. But performance-wise, pretty good.
Yeah, I liked him. Yeah, so it was all right.
What about Vinette Robinson and as Rosa Parks?
Oh, I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really did, yeah. I didn't realise she'd been in Doctor Who before as well, because someone pointed out she was in 42, which I don't remember her being in it. I mean, I've only watched that a couple of times, but I thought she was great. I mean, she looked the part. She sounded the part, because I'm assuming she's not American. I really thought she gave a great performance, and she was strong, but also likable, and she was like a warm character. Do you know what I mean? Like warm towards her, and
yes,
So I think she played it quite rounded. It was quite a rounded performance. So yeah, I thought she was very good.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that she did a decent job with the accent as well, because that would have been a real
well, again, that's
fail.
what I was worried about. Yeah, if you get that wrong, it takes you out the story a bit, doesn't it?
A little bit.
And it's quite easy to do an over-the-top accent, especially when you're putting that sort of twang on it. It's quite easy to sort of do it badly. So, but yeah, I thought she was very good. I mean, she was, when she played it quite subtle at times as well, didn't she? Like when he says to her, "Get off the bus," and she sort of was doing it mostly with a look.
Yes.
Like rather than getting angry and shouting in his face, she kind of was quite sort of calm and simmering inside. You could feel the sort of anger in there without her sort of shouting her head off. It was all done with, her acting and the look that she gave him and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought it was a great performance from her.
Very good.
Really, I totally invested in her as Rosa Parks. I totally believed it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. What about our TARDIS crew then?
Yeah, they were good. They were good in this episode. I really liked them. Yeah.
Really cool. I think still in this, we'll come on to Yaz in a second when we get onto Arachnids, but I think in this one she was still lower down the pecking order of the three.
Yeah.
Still in this one. But she was still very good though. The scenes that she was in, she was really good. And Tosin Cole as Ryan was very good.
I've really warmed towards Ryan. I really like his character and I like Tosin's performance as well. And he definitely did get more meat in the script, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because like you, I thought Yaz might get a bit more to do this week. So, but I thought, I mean, she got the nice scene. Yasmin got the nice scene when she's with Rosa, mending the coat and trying to get her to the bus stop. So there was that scene, but I know what you mean. Yeah, she did take a little bit of a back seat again. I thought, but yeah, both of them I thought were really good, and a nice scene between the two of them when they were just sat chatting about some of the stuff they experienced. So I think they're working really well together, and there is this little spark between them, like when she says, "Oh, did you just pay me a compliment?" and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I think it's all a ruse. I don't think they are going to get together because it's almost too obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're.
And in a way, in a way, I hope they don't. I think it'd be nicer if they just have a sort of mutual, like they really care for each other, but they don't have to, be sort of lovers. Do you know what I mean? They can just be like really good friends, and I think that would be much nicer actually.
It's like the early days of Mulder and Scully. For ages when the X-Files, it was like, will they, won't they? Will they, won't they?
Yeah.
And they did in the end. But yeah, I think it's like the early days of that.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it'd be cool if they didn't get together. But there are those little moments, and There was a couple in the next story as well. There's little moments where they look at each other and a little, but I tell you what, though, Bradley Walsh is still stealing the show for me.
He really is. He really is absolutely knocking it out the park.
He's come out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's
Graham.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Really, really cool. And he's just got this brilliant mix of humour and seriousness that he can turn on and off. Honestly, I'll say this honestly, I didn't think that his acting chops would be as good as they are in this. Because he hasn't always been like a comedian, game show host sort of wacky character. He has done plenty of proper acting jobs before. But he's got this ability to be so warming and funny and charming, and he's got that maturity that he brings to it. But at the same time, he's got this sadness inside him, which he's carrying because obviously, the death of his wife previous in the first episode. So he can see that he's carrying that grief around with him a little bit, but he's got that ability to sort of lock it away while he's getting on with the job.
Yeah.
And there was a really funny scene, when they go down to
the fishing
scene. Yeah.
That was great. That was, yeah.
They find James Blake and he's having his day off and he's like, oh, like cockle.
Yeah. And then he goes to give Ryan like the fist pump at the end, and Ryan's like, no.
Yeah.
And he just holds his hand out. Like, yeah.
No, I tell you,
yeah, he is. He's. I mean, I thought he'd be good, but I didn't expect to absolutely. I didn't expect him to be brilliant, and he is. I expected him to be good, but he is brilliant. Yeah, like you said, he can switch from like serious to comedy in a heartbeat, and it's convincing. And he's very believable on screen. You know what I mean? He's just his performance. Again, a lot of it's done with just a look. Yeah. Like sometimes he can look so sad with just a look. He doesn't say anything. He just looks to the camera, and I'm like, oh, Graham. Oh no, And then the next minute he's coming in making jokes about fishing and all right cockle, and he's an all-rounder, and he is stealing the show. I really do love his character, and I love his performance. He's brilliant.
It's great. Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
Jodie then, because we had some concerns in our last couple of reviews, didn't we? That
yeah,
has she settled down enough for you? Because you said that you more enjoyed her scenes when she wasn't as zany and crazy, a bit more heartfelt.
Yeah. Now, I really liked her in this episode. I really liked her, and I thought, she's there. This is it. This is what I want. She's getting there. She's strong. She's facing off with the villain. She's sorting it all out. I mean, the scene on the bus as well at the end where they all had to stay on the bus, and she sits there and they have to sit through that horrible moment. Again, all done in facial expression from her, and it was just, I thought, she's really, she's hitting her spot now. So I really liked her in this one. She did tone it down. I love the bit where because sometimes I find the quirky dialogue, they give her a bit too much, but in this it was just right, I thought, because there's a bit where she jokes about being Banksy, and I loved that. She's like, see, Banksy hasn't got one of those, or have I? Yeah. And all this, and I just thought, I'm loving it. So I really loved Jodie in this one. I'm really pleased to say. I'm just going to say this now. Unfortunately, that all gets undone in the next episode for me, but I'll get to that when we go into it. And it's a real shame, actually, because I was really, really starting to think she would settled into the role at this point. But I'll talk about that more in the next episode. But yeah, in terms of this one, I thought she was great, mate. I thought she really sort of did what I wanted her to do as the Doctor. She got in there, she sorted it, she gave a few good quirky lines. She worked well with the rest of the cast. She didn't sort of feel like she was being pushed to the back, because it is quite a crowded TARDIS team, and sometimes I think she gets a little lost in it. And no, I thought she was very good in this one.
Yes, I agree. I thought she's
the Doctor I wanted to see.
Yeah, there wasn't too much of the very quick tech speak babble. There was a couple of scenes where she was talking to Krasko when she was a little bit like that, but overall, I thought she had calmed down a little bit, and she was more. I mean, every episode she's definitely got a hat on in terms of, right, there's stuff to get done. Let's get it sorted. There's never any doubt in that. But I thought overall she gave a better performance than what she's done currently up to this point. But I still feel like she's sort of 90% there. I've still got this feeling in the back of my mind that, I don't know, she's not quite the Doctor that she wants to be yet.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm going to save my thoughts on this for the next review because I think it ties more in with that episode. But I'm the same, mate. I felt like the first 2 episodes, she still seemed to be finding her feet a bit, and all the sort of 100 mile an hour talking with all this gabble and stuff was getting a bit annoying. This one, because she is more settled down, I thought, right, okay, here we go. She's getting into it. I agree with you. By the end of it, I still don't think she's quite. And I think our good friend Matthew Rowney from the Who Addicts put this best in one of our chats. He said she needs to just go up a gear. And I'm like, yeah, it's like she's, like you said, 90% there. I want to see that extra, something, because the Doctor needs to be a special character. She needs to have that extra 10%. Yeah. And at the minute, she hasn't quite got it. Like you said, she's 90%. And the Doctor, with 3-4 episodes in, she hasn't quite got there yet. And it's quite frustrating, actually, because I can see the potential and I am liking her a lot, but I'm just know that there's more. And as I said, I'll save the rest for the next review because it's more to do with the writing for me. But it ties in more with Arachnids. So I'll save that for our next review. But I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention before we throw a score on this one?
Just that I wanted to ask what you thought of the song being used at the end, Rise Up. Because a lot of people didn't like, because we are getting, and again, we'll get one in the next episode that we're about to review, but we are getting some modern music thrown in this series. Yeah. So we got Rise Up played when she got first. Now, for me personally, I actually thought it worked very well. I actually liked it. Because the only danger when you put a modern song in an episode .2 is you have the danger of it dating. So like in 10, 20 years time, it could just sound really dated. But I thought it worked quite well. I'm not sure it needed to be used as the end theme again. Felt a little bit like they were sort of hammering it home. But personally, I didn't mind it. I thought it worked quite well in that scene. I thought it certainly made me feel emotional, which is what it was intended to do. Yeah. So, she sits down, she does her protest. The song kicks in. She's escorted on the bus. For me, it all worked. But what did you think?
I didn't mind it actually. I thought it was a good way of sort of tugging at the heartstrings a little bit and just reinforcing the scene, the impact of that scene and how important it is. I think it did a decent enough job of, bringing home the emotional aspect of it. I think it added an extra layer of emotion to it.
Yeah, I didn't realize the importance of the song as well, because to me it was just a good fitting song for the moment. But apparently it does have a bigger connotation. This song, I'm told, in America it's used for the Black Lives Matters, and I don't know. Apparently it's quite an important song to do with that, which I didn't know until it was pointed out to me. So again, I think a lot of people will have got that, so it probably meant something more to them. I thought, okay, now I know that's even more fitting that they used it, but I didn't know that at the time. To me, it was just like, this is, this works for what's happening on the screen. But yeah, I understand it had a bigger connotation, a bigger meaning to it, which I think is great.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Andrew Day, wasn't it? Yeah.
Andrew Day, that's it. Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to ask you was, because I was a little bit confused about the asteroid at the end being named. It felt like sort of one. I don't think it really needed it, to be honest. I think the episode did what it needed to do for me, and I was absolutely gobsmacked by it. It felt like sort of one thing too much. It was a nice scene. I don't mind it. I don't think it needed, because I didn't really understand it. She was saying an asteroid had been named after her or something. Yeah,
I think they were just saying that she wasn't forgotten.
Not forgotten, yeah, which is nice. I mean, as I said, I don't mind it. I just thinking it probably didn't need it. One thing I did think, though, is considering how fantastic this episode looked in terms of production, the TARDIS set looks so plasticky in that last scene.
It does. Yeah.
I was thinking, oh no, this episode looks so good up to now.
Yeah.
But they were sort of stood on the edge of it, and you got to see those crystal columns. They look like they're made of plastic. It looked horrible. And then you've got the time rotor, which we finally see does go up and down, sort of wobbling about in the background, looking really, that for me just very slightly took me out. I was thinking, oh dear, that's a shame. I'm still just not on board with this TARDIS set. It feels like a mess. Like they have to step off of it, and they're sort of almost stepping outside of the set, and you can see the wall. And I don't know, it just, didn't really work for me. Because I was hoping in this one it would be when I would say, actually, I'm really starting to like this TARDIS set, and it was just looked like a plastic set to me. I don't know. I just thought it was such a shame after such a visually brilliant episode we got that set. But it was a nice scene, a lovely scene with her explaining about Rosa. So, yeah. But I don't know. What do you think of the set, mate?
I'm still.
Did you think the same or not?
Yeah,
it really jumped out at me. I thought, oh, look at those awful columns.
Still not blown away at all.
No, I'm not. I'm not grabbing me that one.
No, we get to see more of it in the next episode.
We do. Yeah.
It's still not. No, sorry, it's not doing it for me at all.
No. So that's pretty much me done, I think, for this one.
Coolio. Last thing for me, I really like the music again. I think our new composer is awesome. I can't wait for the soundtrack to come out.
I'm with you on that one. Every time we've mentioned the TARDIS team in this review, I can hear a certain piece of music in my head. I'm hearing it now, and I love it. It's that dun 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 dun, and I was like, I love this piece of music. Dun 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 dun.
We don't need the soundtrack. We got Adam.
You got me. I just can't. I'm like you, mate. I can't wait to be able to play that loud on my stereo. Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
Right, I think it's me to go first.
Okie
if I
dokie.
recall, so I'm going to go straight in with a 9.
Yeah, and I'm going to join you with a 9.
With a 9, cool.
With a very strong 9.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm only knocking the point off really because old Krasko was a bit weak, but there wasn't. I thought everything else was just incredible in this great story. I almost feel like I should do a 9.5 really because this is my favourite episode so far, without a doubt, out of the 4. And I rated Woman Who Fell to Earth as a 9, and I like this one better.
Okay, yeah.
So actually, I suppose. Yeah, I better go 9.5 then, because otherwise it doesn't work. Because I like this one better. I can't rate them the same. So I'm going to go 9.5.
There we go. Okay.
It was great. Really, really loved it.
Have we ever given a 10?
I think I gave 10 to the 5 Doctors many years ago. Because I just love the 5 Doctors. And I don't care what anyone says. That is a 10 out of 10 for me, personally. But yeah, very rarely do we give a 10.
Rightio.
Yeah, 9.5.
9.5. What did our listeners think? Let's do a couple of these before we move on to Arachnids. So we had a couple on Twitter, and this is my fault. I didn't put out a social media post asking for them, but a few people did say, give their reviews over on Twitter. Theta Sigma Podcast said, without doubt, the best of the season so far. And hold on. No. That's the wrong one. That's for the next episode. Sorry. I'll come back to Theta after we've done the next one. But Rotide says, I bloody loved it. It made all my concerns about them messing it all up go away. It really gave the 50s vibe and how they treated Ryan and Yaz. It allowed history to be told while adding its own Doctor Who twist, which didn't impact the real events. Brill Ep, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, yeah.
Over on Facebook, let's have a look. Lewis Palmer says, one of the finest tales Doctor Who ever told in Rosa. With its importance and emotional weight, we needed a bit of a palate cleanser with Arachnids afterwards. Miles McKenzie says, Rose was a very strong episode, which I thoroughly enjoyed. They didn't shy away from the racism, which took me by surprise, but shows how far we've come as a society. And he goes on to give it a 7.5.
Cool.
Yep. Let's have a look. Charlie Turner says, Shakespeare Code level 2 over the top. I normally don't mind stuff like this, but it just seems to go too far. The ending is nice enough, though. Very middle of the road with this one. I'm very sorry. A 5 out of 10.
Good grief.
Yes. Joseph Howarth says, it was a strong episode and didn't shy away or tried to sugarcoat this powerful moment in history. The only weak link was Krasko.
Yeah.
Yes, and he gives Rosa an 8 out of 10. We had a couple of audio clips in as well.
Cool.
This is TARDISnet 66.
Hello, Gary and Adam from the Big Blue Box podcast. Well, I thought Rosa was the best of the series so far. Easily the best historical story since Vincent and the Doctor. I thought Vanette Robinson was fantastic as Rosa Parks, and it was back to how historical stories were envisioned back in the 1960s, as it felt very educational. And not only that, but it was about a very relevant piece of subject matter as it dealt with racism. And it showed truthfully how racism was back in the 1950s. And I thought overall it was a real touching and emotional story, and it's going to be very difficult to top with the rest of the series. If I have any complaints though, I thought Krasko was a very weak villain. He just had very little threat, and he didn't have much in the way of motivations for me. But overall, I loved the story.
Coolio.
Excellent, thank you very much.
And lastly, this is Sammy Satine.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Rosa. When I went to Washington, D.C. a few years ago, I saw a statue of Rosa Parks in the Capitol building. I also saw the spot on the Lincoln Memorial where Martin Luther King stood and gave his I Have a Dream speech. We also saw his memorial. I say this because both these two people featured in this episode. Also, we saw the return of the time-space visualizer! As last seen in the first Doctor's era, it was incredibly well done this episode. Props to Vanette Robinson for her portrayal of Rosa Parks. Well done, Rosa, and well done, Doctor Who, for teaching kids about history again. I give it 9 Montgomery buses out of 10. See ya.
Thank you very much, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy.
Sammy. So that's our reviews and stuff done for Rosa.
Yep.
Shall we move on to our next review?
Yes, I think we should.
What we got?
Arachnids in the UK.
Big spider problem in this city, Raz. Got to be home?
Oh, Daisy.
Tell me exactly what's going on, omitting no detail, no matter how strange.
There you go.
Another 8.5 second teaser.
Oh dear. Right then. Arachnids in the UK. Is this a play on the Sex Pistols?
Anarchy.
Anarchy in the UK.
Could be, because I think the first episode was a play on Bowie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Arachnids, obviously, just this Sunday gone, the 28th. It was directed by Sally Abrahamian. I hope I'm saying that right. It was written by the Chibbers, and it's got the usual TARDIS team with some fairly decent and fairly not decent supporting characters. The story is there's a laboratory that are experimenting with spiders. They throw one of the dead carcasses away to what they think is a responsible, disposable waste company. But it turns out that this big American tycoon dude who's built his hotels on top of landfills, and this company has dumped the carcasses in there. But one of them wasn't quite dead. All the toxicity from the landfill has mutated it into a giant spider. More big spiders are born, and then it dies.
That's it.
What's your score for this one?
Well, let's just say this to me felt like a typical Chris Chibnall script, in that it had a great build-up, some very nice moments and ideas, and then just fizzled out to nothing, which is what he always blimmin' does. And I must admit, on the first watch, it finished and I just went, oh, we were doing so well. I enjoyed it more on the second watch, though, a little bit more. So actually, I suppose quite a bit more, actually. I did enjoy this overall, but there are some things that really let it down. The conclusion, some of the supporting cast with their dreadful acting, and the way the Doctor was written. So this is a mixed bag for me. I kind of can watch it and find it an enjoyable 50 minutes of TV. But is it great? No. Is it good? Is it average? Yeah. So it is kind of what we needed after last week's episode. I know a lot of people have said that, and I agree with them. Last week's episode, very heavy. We needed something a bit more light and adventurous this week. So I get that. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. But man, this could have been so much better. It really could have. Such a weak ending. Really killed it for me. In another, because I was quite enjoyed it up until the end, really. Yeah. So that's where I am on it. It's a bit of an average one for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. It's for me, it's average at best.
Oh, average at best.
At best, yeah. I found this one
Chibbers.
I found this one incredibly predictable and very just. When I finished watching it, I just didn't take anything away from it at all after I finished watching it. Because after the previous episode, where it hits you like a slap in the face, right from the off, and then it leaves you really emotional. It's a bit of a, that type of story. This one, it was just like, what is going on here? It's like I don't know what is going on with Chibbers in respect to monsters and villains and stuff. They're just not threatening enough.
No.
Even like the giant spider. Like the only threat that we saw in this was when Ryan and Graham get chased down the corridor.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they just escape and they just shut the doors and everything's fine. And then there's the other bit where Jodie sort of lowers herself down into the broken bath. She turns around and sees the big spider. And then she just comes back up again and they all run out and nothing really happens. And then at the end, it's like, well, the spiders... I see what they were doing in terms of the spiders weren't these... It's not like... Metabilis 3, is it?
They're not evil spiders.
It's not like, the great one from,
No, the great one.
Yeah, it's not like that where they've got these like, what's the word? These superior intelligent beings that are from space. They just look like spiders and they've got intentions of ruling the world. It's not like that. They're, not their fault. They've just been mutated as a result of being dumped in the toxic waste. And then at the end, it's dying anyway. And it's, it just seems... Because they did get a person on board to act as like a scientific correspondent to make sure that the sciencey stuff behind the spiders was all bang on, which is great in a way, but there was just no payoff from it. It was like, well, yeah, you've taught us a little bit about spiders, which is good. But in terms of being an entertaining story, I mean, it's kind of timed okay, I suppose, with coming up to Halloween. We needed a bit of a creature feature kind of story, I guess. But it wasn't, but because they were going down the scientifically accurate route, it didn't really have that. It was more of a science experiment gone wrong, and it was just all cleaned up nicely, and it just didn't go anywhere. When I finished watching it,
fizzled out.
Yeah, I just thought, why did I just sit and watch that? I mean, that was just a complete mid-series filler episode with nothing going on. The only little nuggets that we sort of took away from it was the little bit of progression we had with Graham and Ryan. He gets the letter from his dad, and so we have a bit more. We see a bit more of Yaz finally. We see Yaz and her family, which is really good. And we have that really horrible bit where Graham goes back to the house and he sees Grace there, but she's blurred out. It's like in his sort of
subconscious.
Yeah, and it's really sort of upsetting, really, because it's the first time he's sort of confronted his grief. You know what I mean? You see him staring at the house and he doesn't want to go in, which has a nice little lead up at the end. You can see at the end the doctor's gutted, they're all going, and they're like, well, actually, coming home pretty much sucks. We don't want to be home. Ryan doesn't want to go back to being a factory worker. Yaz doesn't want to be around her family anymore because they does her nutting, and Graham doesn't want to be alone with his grief. So they see traveling with the doctor as escaping all of that, sucky stuff. So that's the only bit in the whole episode that has a bit of weight to it. The rest of it was just complete throwaway. Why come on, Chibbers, you're better than this.
It could have been so good, couldn't it, mate? I really thought they were going to push, because this series has pushed boundaries a bit, isn't it, in terms of ramping up the the style, the effects, the tension, the hard-hitting drama. So this week I thought, it's Halloween weekend sort of. Spiders, which I am a bit scared of spiders. I thought, okay, it's going to be creepy. I want to be scared. I want to be jumping out of my seat every 10 minutes. These spiders didn't scare me at all. They really could have ramped up the horror in this, couldn't they? I mean, it didn't need to be an 18 certificate, but man, it needed something.
Especially for Halloween.
Especially for Halloween. I just expected to be more scared because, of the subject matter, if you like. But this is the thing. I got to the end of this episode and I was sort of angry, really. It's, because, I was thinking this is episode 4. We are at the heart of the series pretty much. Next week, we are halfway through this series. And if rumours are to be believed, we're not going to get another series for well over a year. So I'm thinking, come on, this needs to be good. We don't have time for substandard filler episodes. We want every episode to be to a certain standard, and this wasn't up there. It could have been, though, mate. It just needed a few tweaks. It could have been a great episode. If they'd have made the spiders a bit more scary, if we'd have seen them do something, but also if we'd have had a proper conclusion. My partner was watching this to me, and he turned to me and said, "Oh, what happened? Did I miss something?" Mm-hmm. I was like, "No, you didn't miss anything. We just didn't get a conclusion. They basically, I think what we were supposed to, just make up the ending in our head, that the spiders all go to that room, presumably until they grow big enough to die.
And perish,
which is a horrible thing. And when old what's his name from old Mr. Big from Sex and the City, when he came in with his gun and shot that spider, what the hell's going on with the writing? The doctor didn't do anything. She didn't even tell him off. Or I was thinking, come on, Jodie. I'm blaming Chris for this more than her, obviously, but she did nothing. I was thinking, can you imagine Tennant in that situation as Tennant's doctor? Can you imagine what he would have done if that guy had come in and shot a spider? You can imagine him giving one of those great Tennant gritting the teeth, spit coming out. Mm-hmm. You don't, I'm thinking it was only the other week that the doctor was telling that guy off who was nearly killed on the crane for pushing the baddie off the crane. She's like, you had no right to do that. But this guy walks in, shoots the spider, leaves the room. Gosh. I was thinking, no, come on. Where is the doctor at this point? Yep. Where is my doctor that would have said, oi? It infuriated me, mate. It absolutely infuriated me. And I will come on to this when we talk about Jodie, just the way the doctor was written in this episode just made me so frustrated. Yeah. And also Jodie's performance as well to a certain extent. But yeah, it really, really annoyed me. And that along with the fact that we didn't get a proper ending to the story as far as I'm concerned, just made it, a frustrating episode. What happened to all the other spiders across Sheffield? So all those ones in the hotel, they go to base. So what about all the other ones that are supposed to be scattered across Sheffield? Like the one that was in, Ryan's neighbour's house, and the shell that Bradley found, and because I think we were supposed to assume they were all over the place, not just in that hotel. Yeah,
because Jodie has the cool little scene actually where she's got the marker out and she's marking out all of the points throughout the city, and it all sort of targets or culminates in this one central bit, which is the hotel. So there's loads because the scientist woman, she's like, oh, this isn't the first time it's happened and we've got a problem in the city and stuff. Mm. Yeah, so like you said, are we just to assume that they just die out of their own in probably the same way that the dead one that Graham finds in the loft? Are they all going to just do that? Are people just going to find giant dead spiders all over the place and nothing's going to be said about it?
But only if they're, I suppose. Only if they're playing Stormzy at 10 decibel vibes. I mean, there was no proper conclusion to the episode. It really, and that's what frustrates me the most. It was kind of left up for us to make up our own ending, and then off they go to a next venture, and it just felt half finished, this script. Yeah. But a lot of Chibnall's scripts do, and that's why I'm so frustrated with him. That's why I'm worried that he's writing so many episodes in this series, is because he seems to have this formula of really good ideas, but he doesn't execute them well enough, and he never, look at Power of Three. Great idea. All these cubes, what are they? What do they do? The land, great idea. Episode went nowhere. Mm-hmm. And this was exactly the same.
I read you, mate.
So it's just you can tell the frustration in my voice. I was just like, come on, Chibbers.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like it's very hit and miss. I mean, dinosaurs on a spaceship is another example. That could have been amazing. That could have been, it's really cool. I know they didn't have a huge budget for effects and stuff back then. When was that? 2013 or 2012? But, in terms of story, it's a similar sort of thing. The whole dinosaur thing that we were hyped up to have, because we saw the trailer with Matt Smith riding on top of the Triceratops, and
that's right.
The title itself made you think it was going to be this cool kind of Jurassic World-esque, Jurassic Park type of thing. And that just ended up being not a bit of a, so we saw 2 dinosaurs. Oh, okay. Not too bad, I suppose. But I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
His stories are, especially the titles, it's, I'm with you, mate. It's very frustrating. It's very, and we do.
They promise so much and deliver so little.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I did love in this episode.
Go on in.
Bradley Walsh. The scenes with him were great.
Yeah.
He's again absolutely shining way above everyone else in this episode in terms of his performance, and the scenes of him were brilliant. I love because again, it's the sentimental stuff. It could be boring, it could be, but because of the way he acted and stuff, those scenes where he was seeing Grace, and I had a feeling we might get this. I don't know about you. I had a feeling we were going to get flashbacks. I don't know why, or maybe I just didn't think we'd seen the last of Grace.
Right.
I think she was just too good a character to sort of just get rid of like that. So I was really pleased that she come back, albeit blurred out in the corner of the room. It still had an impact. Like she's telling him not to sniff why are you sniffing those, jumpers for, you silly fool, and all that. Loved all that stuff. Those moments in the script were really nice and thing. And it was good to finally get to meet Yaz's family, even though they couldn't act their way out of a paper bag, but at least we got to see them. This is my other big problem with the episode, mate. The supporting cast in this were dreadful.
Oh, dear.
Her dad was just awful as an actor. And that woman who was supposed to be the scientist drove me nuts. Her performance, they really took me out of the episode. They were dreadful as in their acting.
I read you.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going ahead of myself. I'll backtrack a bit.
Okay. So for me, I'm not going to talk any more about the story because it was just, it was so basic and predictable. It was, the spiders are loose and now they're not. It's basically that simple.
Yeah. What did you think of sorry, I'm jumping ahead again, but what did you think of the conclusion though, with the sound vibes and stormy? And
I mean, that was I don't think it was good, but it was funny. It definitely
we got another modern track in Doctor Who, though. Yeah. But I did love the bit when Ryan turned to Yaz and was like, "You're so uncool right now." I did love that moment.
Yeah, that whole scene, it was really funny, and it was those little cool moments where I think in this instance, Ryan sort of shined in this bit because he does have he had a sort of little pocket of sort of real humor and confidence about him. It was really cool. The other time we saw it, it was an epic fail. When we had the Ghost Monument episode and he had the whole Call of Duty thing with the sniper bots, that was a bit of that sort of fell on its bum a little bit. But this bit I think was really funny.
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Conclusion wise, it was no better than the idea in the story as a whole. It was just, why did you do that? Why the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
Spiders. Spiders terrify the majority of people. Even if you're not terrified, a lot of people are not sort of spider people. They don't really like them. So the power of arachnophobia, that whole, they could have done a lot with that.
They could have done a lot,
They could have creeped out the entire world with that story, and if they'd done it correctly. But it just turned out to be, and don't get me wrong, the effects were pretty good, actually. The spiders look really good, and
I thought the spiders looked good. Yeah,
no complaints with like the visual effects. If we were sort of rewound to the Tennant era, they may have looked a little bit dodgy, but they looked really, really good. But it's just that it was just the use of them was just. They might as well not have done it. It was just.
Again, it's another Chibbers trait, though, isn't it? It's a bit like those droids that were in Ghost Monument. I said to you, look great. We only got one shot of their face, but they look great. What did they do? Absolutely nothing. And the same with the spiders. They didn't do anything.
No.
You know, talking of effects though, sorry, I'll try not to be too negative. I'll say a positive here while I remember it. New time vortex looks lovely.
Oh
now
my
that
God.
looked lovely.
Totally forgot about that until you mentioned it.
I'm looking for positives on my pad. I don't want to be too negative. Now that looked good, and it also had different time loops for the TARDIS to accidentally go in, and that was cool. Yeah, that looked lovely.
I'm falling in love with that. That whole, it's a bit like the intro theme as well. You know, the sort of dark. I just love the whole look and feel of that. Now is just beautiful, like with the dark purples and mauves and it just looks. Whoever's on the visual effects for that side of it, whoever was said, right, you're going to be doing the time tunnel and the time vortex and the space scenes. You know, give that person a pay rise, because it just when I saw it, I was it
looked great, and it was lovely the way it went through the vortex a few times and then sort of come down on the console and into the TARDIS, didn't it? Yeah. What a lovely shot. I thought that was really, really nice. Yeah.
Awesome. That was the only sort of the only couple of scenes that were sort of amazing. What I thought, wow, this is brilliant. You know, and then you just got, you know, it's like, we need to see a decent bit, you know, let's see a decent time vortex. And then we got ahead of ourselves. The universe answered and slapped us back down with mediocre story.
Yeah.
It's like that,
and it started off promising, didn't it? With the shots of the hotel, they're all really low angles. I thought, creepy hotel, spider webs, this is good. But again, just sort of went out the window really quickly.
Yeah, agreed. Get out the window. Okay, so no more story stuff because characters. What did you think? So we've spoken about Yaz's family, the dad. Yeah.
Do you agree with me that because I get quite annoyed when people, you know, like in Rosa last week, I mean, even the extras, even the people in the bar that just were giving looks were up to a certain standard of being believable. He comes in and he's saying his lines like he's on a stage. And I'm like, oh dear, where did they find him? Because it's letting everybody else down. You know, everybody's of a certain standard. And we've already said Bradley Walsh is acting everybody off the stage at the minute. But yeah, her dad, what was his name? The actor. He was just so hammy.
I think it was Hakeem Khan.
Yeah.
No, sorry. That was the actor's name. The character name. The guy's name was Ravin Ganatra.
To be fair, he wasn't in it that much.
No.
And he's not the worst offender. I'll come to her in a minute. But yeah, it did annoy me because it just takes me out of the story when you get somebody acting like that.
Indeed. Yeah. So Yaz's sister then, Sonia?
She was okay. She wasn't too bad because she's got her eye on Ryan, and I love that little scene where she's like, "Oh, you two not together? That's good." And he gives a sort of, "Oh my God." So that was cool. No, I thought she was all right actually. She wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yaz's mum?
She was all right, I suppose. She didn't start off very good, but I think by the end I'd sort of warmed to her more. You know, because I don't know why. I found her questioning how she knew the Doctor a little unnatural, actually. Because I don't know why. Like in that situation, she's like really banging on about it when she's like, how do you know each other? I'm not sure that would have actually happened. But yeah, no, she wasn't too bad, actually. I've seen her in other things as well. I recognise the actress. I don't know her name.
It was Shobna Galati.
Okay.
She's been in loads, I think.
I was going to say, I recognise her for stuff. Yeah, I thought she was okay. Certainly better than the rest.
She was really funny in an old Victoria Wood comedy called Dinner Ladies.
Oh, that's where I know her from.
Really
yes.
funny.
Yeah.
I think she was in Corrie for a few years as well.
Yeah. No, she wasn't too bad.
Yeah. One scene that I did find confusing where she says to the Doctor and Yaz, are you two seeing each other? And for some reason, the Doctor said, I don't know, are we?
Yeah.
As if you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think that's the Chibbers trying to write the Doctor as alien. Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I couldn't, that didn't work for me. I'd see why she was doing that, because the Doctor's very much been like, am I this? Am I not? Am I Banksy? Am I not? Am I this? Am I not? But that just didn't work because it's too direct a question. It's not like, when someone says to you, "Are you hungry?" It's either yes or no, or whatever, or is the sky blue? Yes. It's a direct question. It's like, are you seeing that person? It's not I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
She does, because she does say it about Ryan as well, doesn't she? She's like, "Oh, are you two seeing each other?" And they're like, "No." Exactly, yeah. Maybe it's just her trying to be like a mumsy. Oh, they want her to get hitched up with someone maybe. But just going back to the Jodie thing, we did also get some glances across the console at the end. Is this going somewhere between Yaz and the Doctor when she's like, yeah, there was a bit of a...
I know. I don't know if it's...
a bit of a look as if like they might actually like each other a little bit more than friends. Or certainly Yaz might like the Doctor, but no, I'm telling you, you go back and watch that ending. There are some little... It's very subtle.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's a little moment between the Doctor and Yaz. And I'm thinking also with her mum saying that, maybe Yaz likes boys and girls. Or maybe she likes just girls. Maybe she just likes boys. I don't know. But there seemed to be something being implied there.
Okay. I know what you mean. I saw the look. I just thought that was a look of, oh, this is awesome. Like, welcome back aboard officially. Sort of.
I think it's going somewhere.
You think it's more? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I don't know. We shall see. But there was a...
You're calling it.
There was a moment, I thought, between the Doctor and Yaz right at the end, albeit a very subtle one. But I don't know. Could be wrong.
Okay. We'll see then how that transpires.
We shall see. Yeah.
Okay, so who else was there? Right, Chris Noth, who played the awful hotel owner stroke politician stroke.
Oh, the Donald Trump.
Yeah, come
reject.
on, Chibbers, come on. If you're gonna write,
obvious.
If you're gonna write somebody who is, for the world can see, is just a carbon copy of Donald Trump, then at least make it either more subtle, so it's left up to the viewer's, thought process afterwards to think, actually, that guy was like Donald Trump. I can see what he was doing there. Or put a red baseball cap on him and a red tie and just do it properly. What is this stupid, middle ground, guns solve all the problems? Oh, yeah, this sounds like Trump. Yeah, hotel owner before he was a politician. Oh, this sounds like Trump. Running for president. Oh, this sounds like Trump. Just freaking do it properly.
Yeah.
Or just don't do it at all. What's this middle groundy?
And what is the bet? Again, another one that's just walked away. Is he coming back? The next time we see him, is he going to be president? Because that was hammered home.
He was,
wasn't it? It was hammered home that he's desperate to be the next president. So is he going to pop back in an episode as the president, as a gun-toting Trump Mark II? Oh, yeah, I think so. Another episode where the villain, if you can call him that, just walked away. It's another one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he should have died in this episode. He should have
been eaten by a spider.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
which is, I suppose, again, would have been a bit predictable, but it would have been welcomed.
It would have been. Yeah,
I've got to tell you, mate, I'm disappointed in him actually, because when we saw him in the big cast role of guest actors, I thought, I recognised him, because now this will surprise you, but I actually quite like Sex in the City. I've watched them all, and but he's a big part. He's a big part of that series, and he's good in it. And I thought when he first popped up as this snidey big shot hotel, I thought, oh yeah, he's good casting. He'll be good. He'll be good as that. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't. He wasn't taking it seriously. He was really hamming it up. And I thought, oh no, Chris, I know you can do this, man. I know you can be good in this part. Why are you not being good in this part?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that he could be better because, Sex and the City aside, he's good in that. He's good at the part that he plays in that series. And he could have been good in this. Do we put that down to the director, or do we put it down to the way he was written? I don't know. Or do we just put it down to Chris North not getting into the role? But I was disappointed in him. I was expecting him to be the character that I loved to hate. I thought he's going to be that really annoying, but I'm going to like his performance. And I didn't. Yes. There was a bit where he was hiding with the gun, talking to the spiders. He's like, I'm talking to spiders now. Oh God, it was cringe. It was total cringe. Yeah, I'm telling you, mate, he could have been good. I don't know. Such a shame.
Yeah, it was just the predictability of it. It was, the whole, mirroring Donald Trump's sort of progression into the White House. It was just so predictable and obvious. It was like, come on, just do something. Do it directly, so we, so there's no confusion, or just don't do it. Just find what you wanted. It felt like to be honest with you, mate, the whole thing just felt like when you buy an album and you think, oh, this has got some cracking songs in it, and then you get midway through and you think,
skip this one.
Let's skip. Yeah, exactly. Let's skip to the next track. This is exactly what it feels like.
And also we got this joke scene where the Doctor was like, "Are you Ed Sheeran?" And I didn't find that funny at all. Like last week when she was like, "Am I Banksy? I could be Banksy." Now that I liked.
That was cool. Yeah.
This week she's doing this stupid Ed Sheeran joke, and I was just like, "This isn't working. This isn't working at all. Why would he be Ed Sheeran?"
She tried, again. Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to this when we talk about Jodie, but again, down to the writing, the way the Chibbers is writing her, it's just like cringe.
Yeah, and it's down. I think it's. She does try to explain it. She's like, everyone talks about Ed Sheeran, but I think that's.
In other words, what? Because she was the only one who didn't know him. You mean? And
I think she tries to say that because Ed Sheeran is so popular, the whole world knows who Ed Sheeran is. I think that's where she was going with it, but that's old news. Ed Sheeran's been popular for like 6 years. Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't. It just doesn't work. To me, it feels like a joke that Chibbers put in there, but it didn't pay off for me. Yeah.
Oh dear. So TARDIS team. Then we've spoken about Graham Bradley Walsh stealing the show for me. Just
absolutely
doing
the biz.
Doing the biz. Ryan. As always, consistent. He's been great. Tosin Cole's very, very good. And he has a couple of funny little moments in this, but he just didn't have anything sort of good to work with. It felt like he just didn't have a real meaty script that he could get hold of. It felt like he had a couple of cool little funny scenes and a couple of cool little emotional scenes, and that was his lot. I think throughout the majority of the episode, it was a little bit sort of paint by numbers.
Yeah, I must admit, I did on the second time I watched this, when I enjoyed it slightly more. I did like there was a bit of bonding between Graham and Ryan,
a little bit,
because actually the progression between those two has been really well done. Actually, like episode 1 and 2, Ryan's like, just doesn't really want anything to do with Graham. He's warming towards Graham, and particularly in this episode. Yeah. They're actually sort of on really good terms, and there is a bond growing between those two where, and I do really like that. I really like the character progression between those two characters, because it's been done very well, actually. It's been quite subtly building, Ryan's still not there. He's still not calling him granddad, but he's talking more to Ryan and understanding more Ryan's feelings about his gran. And so I really do like the progression between those two, and there were a couple of nice scenes between them, but I guess apart from that, he didn't get much to do. But that was that great scene at the end where he played the music, and I thought Tosin was really good in that. He was good in the episode. Well, when they catch the spider, that was nice as well. Graham and Tosin, and he's got to shove the tin over it. So that was good. There were some good moments, and and he does this thing in the projector where he's like making what do you call it?
This hand puppet shadows.
Shadows. And I thought that was so subtle,
that was cool.
Almost felt like that was just Tosin messing around. I was like, does he know he's in shot? That's great. So I'm liking Tosin a lot.
Yeah, there was some nice little bits between him and Graham. And then Yaz, obviously, we get to see a bit more of her and what she's about, and nothing really to do with her job at the minute, because she is a police officer, isn't she? But we don't really see anything else to do with that.
Why does her family drive her mad as well? We haven't quite got, because there seems to be, she's mentioned it a few times now, hasn't she? Like, especially at the end, where she's like, I love my family, but they drive me mad, and I've got to get away from them. And I don't know where that's going or what that's about, but she's good. I like Mandip Gill. I've really warmed to her as character as well. But again, we do need a little bit more. We need to, need a bit more for her to do, I think, really, in the writing. But I thought her performance was good.
Yeah, performance. I think those guys consistently have been really good since the series kicked off.
Yeah, really I love cool. I love our TARDIS team, and I'm surprised that I like all of them, and I'm really pleased about that, because there's normally one that there's normally
the TARDIS.
There's normally one, isn't there? That I wouldn't. There's normally one that you wouldn't miss if they got blown up with the dinosaur. There's normally one. But I have to say, if anything happened to these three, I would be upset. And I do,
yes.
Our good friend Bad Wilf, he keeps saying it. He's convinced Graham's going to die. And I tell you what, if that happens, I'm going to be in bits.
Yeah,
and I keep thinking of that scene of the Doctor blowing a kiss in the trailer, thinking, Martin, if you're right. And that is her saying goodbye to Graham. Oh, my word.
Yeah, do you know what?
I don't think I'm ready for that.
Bloody Martin at Bad Wilf.
I know.
That's been in my head the whole time now.
I know.
Little bugger.
He could be completely wrong. It's just conjecture, but yeah, I know.
What about Jodie then? I know you're itching to. What's the matter then? Do you think she was gone back? Do you think she's just gone back a step in this episode?
She's just not shining for me. I was so frustrated with her and the writing. Just I'm putting most of this at Chibbers' feet. Actually, the way she was written really annoyed me this week. She's back to doing all the silly gabble of, oh, is that a sofa? Do I like sofas? Oh, I might like sofas. Oh, is it going to be perfect? She's talking 100 miles an hour and she's just talking absolute nonsense. And Jodie's performance just isn't up there with what I would want it to be.
Not in
it's
this
just
one.
Not strong enough. I said it earlier. I just wanted to go up a gear. Mm-hmm. This is the 4th episode now, and I thought she was getting there last week. I really liked her in Rosa. She toned it down. The way she was written was good. She was strong. This week, she's gone back to being, for me personally, just not good enough. She's not shining as the Doctor. Right, she's just there. She's, for want of a better word, she's just drifting through the episodes. I don't see her standing out at all. I get that she's part of the TARDIS team, and I love that. But it's frustrating the hell out of me because I absolutely want to love Jodie. I want her to be my favourite Doctor. Because, whenever there's a new Doctor, I want them to be, I love Jodie's Doctor. I'm not feeling her as the Doctor at the minute, to the extent I should. I like her. Mm-hmm. She's good. But the way she's being written by Chibbers, I'm finding quite annoying, actually. And I don't think her acting's been up to the sort of standard I'd expect it to be. Right. As I said, Bradley Walsh, he's absolutely blowing her off the screen with his acting. He's believable, he's grounded, and he can move me. And I'm just not feeling that from the Doctor. And that's what I would normally expect to be feeling by this point in a new series, So, yeah, it's a frustration more than anything. I love Jodie to bits. And and I want to love her Doctor, but I've got to be honest. She's got to do something, And I'm going to come back to that scene I mentioned earlier when the guy shot the spider. Where's the Doctor in that scene? I don't see the Doctor because she did absolutely nothing. She didn't even have a go at him. There's about 5 seconds of silence after that, where he just walks out the room and she just stands there looking at the spider. Where is the Doctor in that scene? Because I don't see the Doctor there, and that, as I said, it frustrates the hell out of me. I need to see more from Jodie's Doctor because at the minute she just ain't quite got it for me, and I hate saying that.
Yeah,
I really do. I hate saying it, but it's my honest gut feeling is I'm just like, come on, Jodie, up it, ramp it up a gear. Especially with the acting. She's just I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but I hope you know what I'm saying.
No, I do, mate. I exactly. I think it's frustrating because I think you'll agree. She is a phenomenal actress. She's got she can be just brilliant. There were certain scenes and the last week's episode and some other bits where she's had these little flashes of brilliance and you think, wow, she's an amazing Doctor. She's brilliant. But I think it's I honestly feel like it's not her. I think it's the scripts that she's been given.
Yeah.
The difference being is, I think because we've been spoilt by such amazing acting choices in the past. If you think to all of the previous Doctors since 2005, they have been the Doctor from episode 1.
Mm.
Especially Matt Smith.
Yeah.
They've all been, Capaldi to an extent. I think he was, again, not his fault. He was sort of messed around a little bit with his writing. He was very inconsistently written.
Yeah.
But for the most part, especially Matt Smith, they've all sort of kicked off from the ground running like, yes, you know, they are just the Doctor. I think Jodie just hasn't quite, I don't know, she just hasn't quite landed that yet. I think she's on her way. She's very close, and she just needs like this belter of a script that allows her to just run with it and just be her own, you know, her own Doctor and stuff.
I'm putting most of the blame of the writing. You know, I just feel like she hasn't put her own stamp on it yet for me. And I can't explain what it is that's missing, but something is, you know. Like you said, with like Matt, for example, in the 11th hour, he just immediately felt like the Doctor, and I knew that he was going to go in there and sort everything out. With Jodie, when I say she's drifting through each story, like you look at the Rosa Parks story, great, she was written really well, but there were scenes in that, for example, when they got thrown out the bar, you know, because they, you know, we don't serve black people in here. They threw her out. I thought she's going to go back in there. You know, they're all going to come out. She's got them out of danger. She's going to go back in there and make a good little speech now. Like she's going to rip into them and say, no, there's no, I just don't see that fire that the Doctor has inside him. And I get that every Doctor's different and they should be different and they should put their own spin on it. But I just don't quite know Jodie's Doctor yet. She seems a little bit like Capaldi's Doctor in Series 8 and to an extent Series 9. She feels a little bit inconsistent to me. And Chibbers gives her these silly lines, which I think demean her performance. Because like you said, Jodie's a great actress. I know she's got it in her to be an incredible Doctor. And I'm on board with her Doctor. I so want her to be like my favourite Doctor, if you like. But when he's given her lines like, oh, do I like sofas now? And it feels like it's been done. It feels a bit like, well, Matt Smith might have said that. You know, write her as her Doctor. Don't try and write her as the quirky, that's something the 10th Doctor might have said, or, you know, even the custard cream dispenser, as much as I loved it, you know, Matt Smith's Doctor had the jammy Dodgers. That's his Doctor. Do something new. Make Jodie's Doctor her Doctor. Yeah. Don't try and write her as this quirky, second-rate, you know, do I like purple? I might like purple. Are we in a relationship? I don't know. And I'm just like, no, it's just frustrating me.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, mate. I think overall she's great. I think overall, as they made the right decision. When they said, right, we want a female Doctor, who are we going to cast? I think they made the, you know, great casting decision. She is very, very good. She's brilliant. But I just feel like the writing has let her down a little bit thus far.
Yeah. I need to see her getting stuck in. You know, like next week, and I keep saying this every week though. Like next week, we haven't got much to go on by the trailer, but. You know, let's see the Doctor getting stuck in, being strong and solving it. And, you know, I'm going to stop now. But I think you know what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
I don't expect people to agree. I know I had a big argument with someone, you know, in a chat recently the other day, because it does seem that people get very defensive if you start criticising Jodie. And I get that, you know, and I like the fact that a lot of people love her. They really love Jodie, and that's great. I'm just frustrated that I don't feel that, you know, and as a fan, because I really want to, you know. And that's all I'm saying. If you're loving Jodie, don't hate me for not. You know, because I want to be where you are. I want to love her as the Doctor, but at the minute I'm just liking her and thinking, she's okay. You know, I want to absolutely love her and say, God, that bit where Jodie did this, that was amazing. I can't say that about anything yet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we shouldn't feel any way about it, about feeling this way. That's just the way we feel. It's just the way
it is. Yeah.
It is. And long-time listeners of our show will know that we will never, ever just sit here and say, oh, she's fantastic and brilliant, because that's the public consensus. We're not going to.
And she is good. She is good. But like you said, I know she's got a fantastic Doctor in there if she's written well, just like Capaldi. They just need to start writing it better, I think.
I think it has got a lot of shades of Capaldi about it. I think it's because it's the same thing. We said exactly the same thing for quite a few Capaldi stories where he as the Doctor is amazing. He's just not being written well enough for us to see it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Jodie at the minute. She's great, but she's not. We haven't had that awesome moment where time stands still and a minute it's like, frickin' hell.
Yeah.
She's this is the Doctor. So I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
It's me to go first this time, isn't it? Unless there's anything.
Let's wrap this. Let's get some scores in. You to go first.
Let me just have a look. I don't think there's anything else.
Oh, one thing I was also disappointed about. Sorry to be negative. I'm really sorry.
Go on.
But I really didn't feel the music in this one like I did the other ones. I feel like there wasn't like a really cool, sinister, horror-esque, thrillery sort of vibe that we've had in previous ones.
Yeah.
You know, don't get wrong, it felt very in the background and just reinforced what was going on in the supposed story. I just didn't have that moment where I thought, right, I need the soundtrack now. I didn't have that moment.
I must admit, actually, now you mention that, because I hadn't thought about that, but maybe it would have been, because I said, it wasn't very creepy and I expected it to be scarier this episode. Maybe the music is a part of that, because if you get creepy music, it can add an awful lot of tension to a scene. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was something that was missing, actually. This is not something I thought of until now, actually, until you said that. Yeah. I think that is probably something that was missing this week. The only other thing I've got written down is psychic paper. We got to see it very quickly, very briefly. Yeah. A little throwback to the 10th Doctor there, which was nice. If we're done then, mate, I'm going to score this. And I'm going to go over 6.5. It's slightly, it was okay. I'd watch it again. I just don't think it was particularly great. I did love the scene, actually, with the TARDIS team at the end, where they all put their hands on the TARDIS and they're off on their adventure. And it was a nice scene. So that was good. But I enjoyed it slightly less than the Ghost Monument, which I gave a 7. So, yeah.
Okay. I am going to score this a very rounded.
You're going to give it a 5?
A 5 out of 10.
I knew you would, yeah. You're going in the middle, aren't you?
Right down the middle. I think it was a real average. An average beast with not many good beasts in it.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's get our listener thoughts on this one. Let's go back to Theta Sigma, who I thought sent a review in for Rose, but it was for Arachnids. He says, without doubt, the best of the season so far.
Wow.
And Hinchcliffe right up too. Some brilliant scare moments and some great comedy too. Check out Ryan's Shadow Creatures in the Spider Research Lab. Sadly, though, Jodie Whittaker is being held back by some poor script.
So he agrees.
Gave it an 8.5, though.
Okay, that's good.
Rotide says the story was okay. It was basic, as you have the rich idiot who doesn't care against the TARDIS team and other characters. No special concept. However, the episode, much like the others, were character-based and we saw more of Yaz. Got to see more of her family and her personality shine through. I loved the chemistry between Yaz and the Doctor, and I loved the acting from Jodie, and I loved the Doctor she is becoming.
Cool.
She does it so well, and I'm loving her. Overall, a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, my word.
Crikey. Time Lord 0902 says, overall, this season has been horrible.
Good Lord.
Bad writing, wooden acting, plot holes, lackluster episodes, and boring, annoying companions. Oh, dear.
Oh, no, I love the companions.
Makes me miss Adric.
Oh, now come on.
Time Lord 0902.
I think he's having pulling our leg.
This could be a wind-up. Yeah. It says, Chibnall is clueless. What is happening to Doctor Who? Jodie deserves better than this garbage.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Wowzers.
I will say this is the first week where I think the acting hasn't been particularly good from the supporting cast. It's the first time it stood out for me. So I do agree with him on that. Like, it's the first time I've thought, God, the rest of the cast aren't pulling their socks up, sort of thing.
Yeah. I thought I was being a bit rough with the 5. It sounds like you would have given it a 0. Right. So Jessica says, I loved it. So creepy, but it wasn't overdone. Very Halloween appropriate. It gave you food for thought with the covering up of waste. Now I'm going to keep an eye on the growth of spiders in our house. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, okay.
Lewis Blackmore. Definitely the weakest episode of Series 11 thus far. Just a very convoluted plot and generally a missed opportunity. It had moments such as scenes with Graham, etc. Don't get me wrong, but overall, forgettable. 5 out of 10.
Yeah, same as you.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Sarah Louise back at the Running Hoovian says, this was the perfect light-hearted watch to follow up the very emotional Rosa Parks episode. Well timed for Halloween. I'm sure it had many fans hiding behind the sofa. Good to learn more about Yaz. She gave it a 7 out of 10.
7, cool.
Pretty good.
Cheers.
Harry Brown, good but lacking in places. Robertson is just a bad character, and there's a few plot holes. The spiders look great. Yaz and Ryan Graham are doing fantastic. 7 out of 10. So Jake, of the spook whistle this week. It was an all right episode. Companions were great. Didn't like the big baddie guy. 6 out of 10. Doctor Who is back, says, I wasn't the biggest fan of this week's story. I just thought last week's was spectacular, but this was lackluster in comparison. 6 out of 10. The spooky autumnal world of Doctor Who dude says, I liked it for the most part, but again, I've been left with the feeling of something missing.
Yeah.
The character work for the main cast is excellent, and I love Jodie's Doctor, but the supporting characters weren't great.
No, they weren't.
Who else have we got here? I think that's it for Twitter. I might have missed a couple. I'm very sorry if I did. Over on Facebook, Jeff Waddle, who's been quite complimentary about this series so far.
He has, yeah.
He says, 70% good, unsettling romp, then fizzled out to an unsatisfactory ending.
Quite right.
Perhaps less faffing about at the end with the companions. We've already had all that. And the genuine resolution or comeuppance for the villain. He walked away scot-free, nothing to say it wouldn't happen again or at any other site around the world. And in the end, he did a good thing by putting the spider out of its misery. Okay. Strange ending, or also perplexed that no line about giant spiders. The Doctor saying, I hate giant spiders. They'll be the death of me again, or something similar.
Yeah, could have been, yeah.
I gave it a 7, though, so pretty reasonable. Lewis Palmer, after one of the finest Doctor Who stories ever told, with its important emotional weight, we needed a bit of a palate cleanser. And Arachnids in the UK does the job well. It's not going to set the world on fire, and there's a handful of issues, but it feels like one I'd put on a Sunday afternoon, and it's perfect for Halloween. He goes on to give it a 7 out of 10. Miles Mackenzie says it was very enjoyable. Spiders were actually creepy, and we got some more backstory for Yaz. I do like the explanation as to why they're so big and how they're not alien. Loved everyone's performance, especially Jodie. It gives it an 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Lawrence Baxter says, it was creepy and pretty unpleasant to watch as the spiders look great. My young self wouldn't have felt comfortable watching this episode at all. So it's very strong from that perspective. I like the story development of the TARDIS team. For me, Graham is stealing the show. The Doctor felt very 10th Doctor-like in this episode. And I liked the Are You Ed Sheeran scene. Goes on to give it 7 bags of toxic landfill out of 10. Charlie Turner says, I didn't get a chance for Rosa, so I'll comment here if that's okay. Oh, sorry, I already did, Charlie. Very sorry. Lastly, on Facebook, Joseph Howarth says, where are we? Arachnids was a great story. The spiders were very creepy. Got to see Yaz's family. The episode felt like the Green Death at times.
It was very Green Death, actually.
And everyone was on point with their performances. Gave Arachnids a 7.5. That's it for Facebook. We do have a few audio clips, though, so thank you very much for that. Let's kick off with our old buddy. This is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Garen with the Big Blue Box podcast. How you guys been doing? So I've been away for the beginning of Series 11. I've been busy with college and all the jazz in real life. But let's talk about some science fiction. So, Arachnids in the UK. Myself, not the biggest spider person. However, love this episode. I think Jodie Whittaker is awesome as the Doctor. I like the fact that Sharon D. Clarke had a minimal role, but had a poignant role in the story. When it comes to Graham's story arc, I love the interaction between Ryan and Graham. When Ryan didn't like the fact that his dad called real family. Sorry, I didn't explain that perfectly. I thought the spiders were cool. I like the Trump guy, the guy that didn't like Trump, but was exactly like Trump. It was quite funny in that respect. I'm going to give the story a 8 out of 10. Due to the fact that this is a nitpick, but I would love the spiders doing from Metabilis 3. Imagine Jodie Whittaker facing talking spiders. Why can't we get good things in 2018?
Alex.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Hello again.
I was surprised we didn't get any reference to Metabilis 3.
Just a little throwaway line would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Metabolis, if you're Matt Smith. Let's keep the train going. This is George Puddy.
Hello, Gary and Adam. So, Arachnids in the UK. I really enjoyed this one, actually. I thought it was going to be a bit meh, but I really, really enjoyed it. I felt very Doctor Who-y, very Pertwee-esque, actually. You know, I thought the spiders looked brilliant. I mean, they didn't creep me out as I don't have arachnophobia, but I thought they were really good. The ending was a bit annoying. The Doctor's morals weren't quite right, but apart from that, I'd say it was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I will give it an 8 out of 10 on par with Rosa and the Woman Who Fell to Earth. See you guys next week.
Okay.
Cheers, George.
Very cool. Thank you very much. Sammy Satine.
G'day, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Arachnids in the UK. Does anyone else wish they were related to the spiders from Metabolis 3? Might be just me. I have questions after this episode. Lots. I love Graham. His reasoning for staying on the TARDIS, definitely get that. Give us some scary aliens already, Chibbers. Seriously, I know you can do good characters, but your sci-fi falls down. Spiders are already scary. Make something else scary, damn it. I'm getting frustrated with you like I did with Moffat. I know you can write well, but Moffat wrote sci-fi well. You can write characters well. The difference is I know the Moff can pull off incredible episodes of Doctor Who. I've yet to see you wow me. Do better. I give it 6 giant spiders out of 10. Oh yeah, and I've changed my mind on the TARDIS interior. I don't like it anymore. See ya.
No.
Oh dear.
Sammy's not happy.
Well, yeah, I'm on kind of agree with her about the TARDIS. I was hoping I'd love it by now as well, but
yeah. Okay, we have one more audio clip. This is Martin Arnold.
Hello. That was a great episode, another great episode. So far it's been an absolute knockout this season. I'm really enjoying it. I love the spiders, by which I mean I was terrified of the spiders. That was some pretty realistic CGI. You can't criticise the fact that they've obviously spent some money on creating those horrible things that will haunt my nightmares forever. I thought the Doctor in it was brilliant. She gave a great performance, not too extreme, but very sympathetic. The bit at the start where she sort of clearly wants them to carry on, and then gets invited to tea and is all, really excited. It was so charming. I loved it. Another episode where Yaz gets to do a bit more. Fantastic. I don't ever want to eat her dad's meals. They sound horrendous. And it was great. I enjoyed it. What else can I say? I'd give it an 8 legs out of 10. Thank you very much.
8?
Thank you. 8 legs out of 10. That was a nice scene, actually. Back to Yaz's for tea. She was charming in that one.
Yeah.
In that bit, yeah.
Yes. No, I agree. Did you have much over on the Geek's Handbag, or did you have too many to...
Oh, mate, so many. I've been putting the post out as soon as the episode ends, and I must admit I've been getting like 40 odd comments. So I'll just say that because I do love reading them. I read them all. And the general consensus was everybody pretty much liked Rosa. That got a phenomenal response. I think I had 1, maybe 2 slightly negatives about it. One very negative actually with Rosa, but overall it was a great response to that. This one, as you can imagine, was more mixed on Geek's Handbag. I would say it was pretty much 80 really liked it though. 80% really liked it. Because I was quite surprised, because obviously after I finished watching it, I put the post straight out expecting it to get a very mixed response because of my own thoughts on the episode. And I was quite surprised and pleased, obviously, that most people seem to really enjoy it this week. So yeah, did make me wonder if I was just being a grumpy old you-know-what, but, I gave it a second watch to see if my opinion changed, and it didn't much. So, but yeah, overall, it was fairly positive on this one this week on Geek's Handbag.
Oh, cool. Right, we will be back as normal next week. So I'm going to let you say this one. Review next week will be...
Hang on, yeah. The Tsuranga Conundrum.
Yes.
We don't know how to say it, do we? We think it's a silent T. We've unanimously decided.
We think so, yeah.
So we think it's would you say like that? The Tsuranga.
The Tsuranga Conundrum. It's a cracking title. Yeah, but we think it's a silent T.
Yeah, I think
We're
it is.
likely to be wrong. But yeah, Sunday's Ep, the Tsuranga Conundrum. So look out for the social media post that goes out on a Monday. We're asking for your thoughts and all that jazz. And I think we'll wrap there, buddy, for 207.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking with us for this slightly longer show as we've done our double back-to-back review of Rosa and Arachnids in the UK. Forgot the title. So thank you so much for sending in your thoughts and audio clips and all that stuff. It's very, very cool. Next week, the Tsuranga Conundrum. We think that's right. Sounds interesting. See how that one goes. But we'll be asking for your thoughts and stuff on that one. So look out on the socials on the Monday and get your thoughts and feelings over to us. In the meantime, nip over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there, plus you can link off to all of the social accounts. If you don't follow us or subscribe, you can do that because we chat lots of Doctor Who during the week between episodes. And there's also the buttons on there to go off to the various podcast networks so that you can subscribe and not miss a show when it lands on a Friday morning. The biggest one being iTunes. If you're an iTunes listener, you could spare a minute for a rating and a review. That would be amazing because that really helps us lots and lots and lots. Also check out Adam's channel.
The Geeks Handbag.
The Geeks Handbag.
Yeah.
Go over to YouTube and just do a search for the Geeks Handbag. You'll see it there. Give him a sub.
That's it.
And all that stuff.
Some
awesome videos there on Adam's channel. Very, very cool. And Adam's also on all of the normal social stuff. So just do a search on that. And like I said, we chat lots of usually random rubbish, but there are some little cool nuggets of Doctor Who in there during the week. So get involved in the convo. And also when we read out all the comments each week on Facebook and Twitter, we're getting to the point where we can't really have the time to read them all in full or all of them. So just jump over and sub and follow us on YouTube and Twitter. Sorry, Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And you can just join in the conversation and see what we're talking about when we read these reviews out. We've got a very good community around the podcast. It's very cool.
Indeed.
Yes. So next week, hoping Jodie has a bit more of a better writing for our episode, for her especially. We shall see.
It's written by Chibbers, isn't it, again?
We shall see. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...